All right, lads. Welcome back to another episode of the Boxing Asylum. This is episode 639. I'm your host, Rappin' Rob Kelly. And we're going from Mexico to Texico. So from the west side to Texas last night to kick off the action where Vergil Ortiz absolutely demolished Erickson Lubin inside 2 rounds to keep his WBC interim title at 154 and set up a potential big money match with Jerome Boots Ennis. Before we get to the connotations of a big super fight down the line between those two at 154, we're going to quickly recap the action. So, from my point of view, from what I saw, there wasn't really much to see. Round one was a feeling out round. Lubin was jabbing, Ortiz was measuring him, got the body work started, and then by round two, as soon as he landed that left hook, he got him trapped on the ropes and he froze him. And the referee had seen enough and jumped in. We're going to go straight to Maddie on this one. Maddie, what did you think of Ortiz's performance last night?
Yeah, it's tough to gauge, right? Like it was such a quick
Mhm.
fight, 2 rounds, and it was done with. And I was unsure about the stoppage because I'm like, man, that seemed a little bit fast. But then you kind of get the other angle on the replay, and he's like, his head's like down, and he's kind of like out in space as far as Lubin, and you get it. But I mean, it's I guess all well and good. I guess you have to give the experience advantage to Ortiz at this point in time, just based on
Mhm.
his earlier fights with Bahuchik. I think at least at the weight. But so it's yeah. What are you going to say? I'm just glad it seems like they're trying to get this fight made right away. They're not
Mhm.
screwing around with anything. So help me God, if they decide they need to have a tune-up fight or put them on the same pay-per-view card to build it up, I swear to God, I'm gonna go off the handle on these fucking
Yeah.
people. But it's there to be made, and I think the only thing that you might kind of take from that one is that or Ortiz that I mean on first glance doesn't seem to have any problem with southpaws. So there's one box marked for him in the rematch or in the fight going ahead. But I mean 2 rounds. What do you say against a guy who'd been stopped early by Charlo, ninth round by Fundora? It rather expected at the end of the day. I figured somebody was going to get knocked out, most likely Lubin, and just kind of a little surprised it was that quick. But yeah, make this fight. It's a great fight for 154-pound supremacy. But man, it just I don't think for either guy their last performance you can read much off of. I think we're gonna have to kind of go back a couple of fights. Probably Stanionis for Boots, good judgment, and then Bahuchik obviously for Ortiz. So
I think it was the case just in both of them, Duran Ennis and Virgil Ortiz, where they didn't play with their food. They obviously have a big payday down the line at stake. I think if you're Duran Ennis, you're probably looking at that ringside, see can you see any chinks in the armor of Virgil Ortiz. But off that performance, he's not going to see much. What did you see, Justin?
I think. Oh shit! Sorry, tree just fell behind me. Um, goddamn, living in the country, all kinds of shit. But I think Matt's right about the tune-up fights. They just had their tune-up fights. I mean, that's it. There's no point of them. They have to fight next. This is the tune-up fights. I think the only difference in this was I thought Lubin. I think me and you, Rob, said the same thing. I thought Lubin was going to get knocked out. I thought maybe he would go the fifth or sixth round. I didn't see him getting stopped this early. But Lubin, he is what he is. He shouldn't be in the ring with Ortiz. Ortiz did what he had to do, what he was supposed to do. And like you said, play with your food. That's exactly right. We didn't need to see Boots go 10 or 12 rounds with that random guy from Portugal. And we sure as hell didn't need to see Ortiz go 10 or 12 rounds with Hammer and Hank Lubin, whatever Erickson. That's Hammer and Hank Lundy, wasn't it? The hell's,
Uh,
I don't know how their names are. Anyway, we didn't need to see all that shit. So I'm glad he got it over with. I think that's the fight we want to see. But God, no boxing. They're going to come up with something. I would not be surprised if Matt's right and we don't see them on some kind of headline, some other card just to try to squeeze a little bit more money out of this. I'm not going to be stunned if they don't do that, like a pay-per-view, some kind
of
of.
course it'll be a fucking pay per view.
It's going to
Of
be some
course.
kind of it's going to be some kind of stupid card where like they're going to set it up again, and then one of them's going to tear their shoulder or they're going to do something stupid and
or
then we're
lose.
yes or yeah, you're going to come out. It's going to happen. Boxing can't help themselves. You've got to put these guys in together. They have nowhere else to go. Look who they're fighting now. They've got nowhere left to go. You have to
Well,
fight each other. There's nothing left. This is it.
sometimes it's the hope that kills you in these things. I think they were making all the right noises. Eddie would have loved that last night. Eddie would have been behind getting Jerron Ennis in front row at that and getting him to get in the ring and all that.
Oh, he was
That's
there. Eddie was there.
yeah, exactly. But that's what I'm saying. Like that's straight out of the Eddie playbook. Like have these fellas. He knows how to sell a fight. Like get these two fellas in the ring, get them facing off. That necessarily doesn't. I wouldn't necessarily hold out hope that that's next. But they're both talking. They're both talking an incredible game. Um, I hope it's not going to get into splits and all this kind of shit like that and hold the fight up. I think this is a legitimate cracking fight for the boxing purists, for us on this pod, for our listeners, for anybody who's been following these guys. Because what you could say is they've been both great to look at and both really really good on the eye up to this point. Um, Vergil Ortiz probably has a little bit more depth on his resume. Boots is a bum of the month club. Let's be honest about it. Not taking anything away from his ability. On the surface of it, he looks like he's an incredible talent. But I think he needs that big opponent to maybe bring out greatness in him or see actually how good he is. One thing I'd say about both of them, the power looks real for both of them. Or I think Boots Ennis fills it out better as a 154 pounder. His power looks legit. Virgil Ortiz looks like he has hammers in his fists. No, Erickson Erickson the hammer Lubin, pun intended there. But he froze him last night when he got him. I'm wondering, do you think this puts Robert Garcia's stock um back in the conversation as one of boxing's elite trainers, because his recent work with fighters like Virgil Ortiz and Bam Rodriguez is kind of bringing back the days gone by of him, transforming a Marcos Maidana, obviously guiding his brother Mikey's career, Brandon, these guys. There was one time he was like heralded as one of boxing's great trainers. The next minute he's chopped liver when he loses a few guys. And, we've had Ramirez and some guys kind of fall short, but now he has kind of two of the best guys in the sport now in Bam and Virgil. You don't have to spend all night on the Lubin fight blinking you miss it kind of. We know that we expected this kind of result, but are you like me? Are you being kind of romantic now about this fight at 154? Is this the fight that we want to see Virgil Ortiz and Jerron Boots Ennis next?
Yeah, I think it's a trade super fight, and the difference being a trade super fight and a super fight is these guys just haven't crossed over yet, and they've not got the resume piece to cross over. But this is like the Floyd and the Diego Corrales type fight. This is the I think both these guys will grow on to have really good careers, and the winner will grow on to have a brilliant career. Uh, I think this is a really good fight, and I think Justin said it. We have to see this now. This is a good one at 54. Um, I'm not quite sure where it goes. I think they've both had a really good last 12 months. Both had a good 2025 in prep for the next one. I mean, last night was pretty stately obvious. We knew who was going to win, but I didn't think he'd get to him that quick. But I think um, there's fighters that are a little bit reactive, but Lubin was beyond reactive. He was like static still, and Ortiz jumped on him. He done what he had to do. He started fast. I think it was I don't know who it was on the panel that mentioned about the stoppage, but I think what happened was Lubin found himself sitting on the ropes. Ortiz let his hands go, and he was hooking behind the high guard of Lubin. And I think Ortiz caught Lubin behind the left ear, and it buzzed him and stunned him. And I think then he come back he sort of checked himself and threw a left hook. And I think the referee saw his eyes roll in that split second, and he was very, very reactive. The referee jumped in and made a point. This is not going to go anymore. So I think he saw something that we didn't see. But the right hand come behind Lubin's ear, and the left hook followed. And I think he saw his eyes roll. But in terms of these two, in terms of Ortiz and Boots, I think it's a brilliant fight at 154. I think it's the one. I'm not saying boxing needs it, but I think as boxing fans, we probably need it a little bit too. I think this is a good one.
Well,
And I
it's
think
the hope
Ortiz
that
is a
kills
live
us,
dog
isn't
in
it?
that
But
fight.
well, I would view personally. I view these guys as if we're kind of taking weight jumping out of it. as the only two legitimate threats to Bud Crawford if he lived in the universe where he'd never gone up to 68th and was probably not looking at another fight. The talk is Bud might go down back down to 160 now and capture a sixth world title at a different weight, which would certainly be the legacy maker. He doesn't need Vergil Ortiz or Boots Ennis for his legacy. But these two, I think if Crawford had stayed around at 154, would have provided a very good test for him. Whether they could beat him or not, I don't know, but they're in the argument. Um, and maybe the romantic boxing fan in us is starting to get rewarded because Shakur Stevenson and Teofimo Lopez, by all accounts, is done. So if we could get those two fights done and signed, that'd be something to look forward to.
Well, I mean, the thing
Rob,
is,
Rob, can I just touch on?
hold on,
Sorry,
let me say
mate.
this real quick. I got this real quick. Is the idea that, though, if they hadn't to spend so much time fucking around with Boots fighting the Karens of the world and Ortiz repeatedly almost killing himself to make weight for Stanionis, just joined the 154-pound fold and had this fight between the two of them over a year and a half ago, maybe they are a viable opponent for Crawford, and that Canelo fight's not even mentioned. The fights that they're seeking sometimes have to do with the own stagnation of their careers and the shit they do fucking around. I mean, it was absolutely pointless for these guys to fuck around at 147 all they want for all that time when the action was absolutely coalescing around 154. If they never get a Bud Crawford fight, I tend to think that's on them more than anyone else, or at least their management.
I mean, look, what's done is done now. The two of them kind of made the right noise. Is this what we wanted to see? I want to know why Alicia Baumgartner, my baby, is sitting beside Jerron Ennis. What's going on here? And nobody gave me the memo about that one. Need to find out
Rob,
more information about this. Sorry, Des, go ahead, dude.
Took my side piece.
If I could just come back on that Robert Garcia question, I think Robert Garcia is like America's Joe Gallagher. He's always got a very busy gym, world-class prospects, fringe world-class fighters, a couple of world-class operators. In Bam and Ortiz, he's got two really, really good ones. But he's also got a few others there. So it's a busy gym, always has been busy. And maybe he's the guy that doesn't get all the attention. And maybe he's the one that doesn't, he's the trainer that doesn't get the Olympians coming off of, the kids that medaled at Olympic Games, or perhaps the number one kids are coming out of the amateurs. But Robert Garcia is a very, very good trainer, world-class operator, and always comes with a good
forward
stable.
Fighters for sure. He definitely, if you want to fight on the front foot and whoop some ass, Robert Garcia is a good trainer for you.
Yeah, he has like very guys now he's training.
He got thrown under the bus in the Anthony Joshua situation, didn't he? A lot of people. I think there was.
He's not the first, though, Rob, is he? He's not the first.
Yeah, that's it.
I mean, Anthony Joshua was on his 8th trainer. He throws trainers under the bus, doesn't he?
I don't think there's many trainers who are heavyweight trainers these days. I mean, we've discussed it a little bit before, but it's a different game, and I don't really think you can very well go from training a lightweight to a heavyweight. It's a different game. Yeah.
And also, as well, with the Anthony Joshua situation, with the Anthony Joshua situation, there'd be a lot of trainers that look at AJ, and think, I need 2.5 years with you. I need to take you back a step to take you forward too. But he's probably told, no, this is our pathway. Are you on board or not? And they look at the prestige involved in heavyweight championships of the world and big arenas and the money, and they go, go on, and I'll do it. And I think a lot of people like Robert Garcia probably thought, I'm not here for a long time, but it's going to be something to add to my CV. It's going to be a good earner.
And, well, 10% of an AJ purse is a shit ton of money.
I don't think I get 10%, but yeah, I hear what you're saying.
Yeah, 5% of an AJ purse is more than 20% of most purses of guys he's working with, right?
Yeah,
good shout. And look, I don't think he was the only. He wasn't the only show in town when he was briefly in charge of Anthony Joshua. I don't think he had final say on anything. That he was more kind of brought in as a consultant. But that's kind of neither here nor there. Maddie, I'm going to come back to you on the undercard of this in Texas. I think we leave Jerron Ennis and Vergil Ortiz where they are for the moment until that fight gets signed. It's certainly a fight I'm particularly looking forward to, but as we know in boxing, anything can happen.
Yeah, don't get
Um,
your fucking hopes up, man.
well, speaking of getting your hopes up, the Americans are getting their hopes up about this Joshua Edwards, the big heavyweight. Now, I always pump the brakes on these American heavyweight contenders. Back in the day, you used to have the Great White Hope. These days, we've the Great Black Hope, the Great White Hope, the Great Any Hope we take from American heavyweight to get one back on the radar. Joshua Edwards seems to be knocking people over. Big man out of Houston. Is he the new wave of American heavyweights that's going to take the
I
mantle from
fuck.
Deontay Wilder?
How can you tell from last night? What was the guy who was fighting? I can't even remember his name.
Big
It was
Zeno
almost
Voorhees.
yeah. It was
He
almost
didn't
like
come back.
Jason Voorhees, but yeah.
Yeah, he didn't. He didn't quite have the staying power of a Jason Voorhees. He went out on the first time of asking, but he
Yeah,
seems to have a big frame. This guy got good fundamentals. Voorhees didn't offer him much of a test. I suppose we have to see him against a guy who can
yeah.
push him. But what do you think about him so far?
I think it's. I mean, he's obviously more capable than your average heavyweight fighter. He's not super big. He does seem to be pretty mobile. It's just how do you judge against this guy? And this Forius guy says he identifies as Italian, but he changed his nickname to the Viking. And I don't. Am I missing some sort of history?
He
Am
looked
I part
Hispanic.
Viking?
He looks Hispanic, so I don't know what he is. Honestly, he's everywhere. He's kind of a mix. But you're right about Edwards. I think the size is going to get him, and he's only like 6'2",
6'3", I think they said.
3, and that
6'3",
I mean
230.
nowadays heavyweight. But I think he's got a good trainer and he's got a good team. I think Rob summed it up. I don't get excited about American heavyweights anymore. We don't have shit. We have nothing coming through. It never works out for us. Wilder was our man, and he was our man. And I love Wilder because he was all we've had in a long time. But that's all we've got.
What do you have against Lamone Brewster, you dick?
Hey, I've got the signed glove. You know I'm a big fan of Lamone Brewster.
Of course you have Lamone Brewster signed glove.
Hey, Lamone Brewster is from North Carolina.
That's
why
right. Yeah.
He is from where I went to school, so I do like Lamone Brewster. And he was married to Pam from the Martin Show, so little inside info. Yeah.
Him
and Pam.
Right on. Yeah, it was, but yeah, as far as the heavyweights go, I don't know. And I think there wasn't there another heavyweight fight on there too. I'm trying to I'm gonna have to pull that up. Because I tell you that undercard, there was only like one, maybe two bright spots on that whole thing in there, and hopefully this guy, I mean Edwards, hopefully he does something in the heavyweight division. 4 fights in, fighting this fat fucking chump. I mean, no offense to the guy. I mean, he went in and took his licks, got his paycheck. I respect his corner pulled him when they should have, but the problem is like there's just not enough measuring sticks around. Like there's just too much of a gap. So trying to find the right people to work your way up, it's really difficult. Like, do you go from that? Is the next guy like a Johnny Rice kind of guy, or is that a step too far? Is the next guy a Joey Tueco? Or like, I don't know that could be a step too far because he's looking tough, but it's just tough moving these American heavyweights up. And again, it's like, I don't think I think about it hard enough at times, but when you look at how spread out this country is, and like trying to get people to places to fight and the cost involved and shit like that, it's a pain in the ass. And I think the fact that the heavyweight scene in the UK is better. It's because everyone's kind of more compressed into that area, moving people about, getting people on the levels. It's a lot easier. You're doing it's a lot of sniffing around for opponents around here, and there's just not that many good ones.
Yeah, fair. So it's fair to say we'll have to wait and see. Joshua Edwards might fall into that Torres kind of territory where he's in no man's land in that heavyweight vacuum where he just continues to knock over kind of bum of the month club until he gets a big fight. But they're certainly trying to market him a little bit and get a little bit of buzz for him. But I don't know if it's picking up that steam. Maybe he might need to come to this side of the Atlantic to have his breakout moment. I don't know what many people saw of the undercard. We had Darius Fulgham versus David Stevens.
Don't watch that fight. If you haven't watched that fight, don't watch that fight. It ended in a draw. It ended in a draw. It should have been a draw just because nobody deserved to win. It was a clinch fest. So ugly. Just an atrocious 10 rounds of boxing or grabbing or some shit. And I almost thought for a second, because it was so awful to watch and it appeared to be awful, the referee, and the referee is Lawrence Cole. And I thought for a second that maybe I'm in hell because Lawrence Cole obviously deserves this. Maybe I've done something to deserve this too. But alas, I'm alive, or at least we're all in hell together at the very least. So, but yeah, don't watch Stevens versus Fulgham. That was an awful, terrible fight. I also wasn't particularly impressed, Rob, with Robin Safar, who beat Kovalev about 18 months back or so. He had a guy in front of him who was just be willing to go if he had that extra little bit, and he hung around for the whole 10 rounds it was. Didn't see the Eric Priest fight. He ended up in a draw with Naker Correa. But the one guy that was really impressive on there, I got to tell you, if there was someone on the undercard, I'm like, damn, I like this guy. It's Amari Jones, and he stopped Shady Gamor, who we've seen in action before, losing to Steve Rolls in what was a pretty competitive fight. Yeah, and and he's been trained by Roy Jones for quite a while, actually. And Amare was really, I mean, he's really clever in the ring because Shady is a very awkward fighter, and he found his shots, worked his way through it. And just obliterated this guy who has shown a very sturdy chin up into this point. So I think Amari Jones is officially in that discussion for maybe prospect of the year, possibly. Very, very solid fighter. Looking forward to seeing him develop.
Okay, so what you're saying to us is watch out for Amari Jones, but the second best Swedish guy fighting out of Cali, Robin Safar, since Badger Jack, don't look out for him. He wasn't anything to look out, but Amari Jones is up there. Matty, we might as well stay with you before we move back to the guys, because I know you're a big fan of ProBox TV. You can't get enough of it. What has happened at the ProBox card last night? How did that go?
Man, that was good fun. For the top two fights on the card there, or three actually. I saw three fights on there. The main event I thought was a real 50-50 going in with Nicholas Flaws and Tiger Johnson. Tiger Johnson, don't know what the entire story is with him, but we all know him, Olympian on top rank cards, has really failed to impress throughout his career. And Flaz was a fighter on the come up. He'd been taking on good competition on ProBox. And again, I saw this as a real 50-50 fight. And it started out with Johnson definitely showing his class. And then Flaz was starting to close the distance and land some good hard shots. And all of a sudden, Johnson landed a 1-2 over the top of Flaz's shoulder, and down he went. He got up and miraculously survived, but would go down again, and that was the fight. So Tiger Johnson moving up 7 pounds to welterweight, as we know, is a division begging for somebody to really become a star, and he looked a lot better than he had at 140. I think that win over Flaws is fantastic. And then one of the guys I'm watching heavily, obviously, is Katsuma Akatsugi, and he got a 7th round stoppage over Vincent Astrolabio, who people know took out Guillermo Rigondeaux, had a close fight with Jason Maloney, I think. Like he's real, like he's not a tight list, but he's definitely the gatekeeper for title shots. And Akatsugi passed with flying colors. He dropped him like 4 or 5 times with body shots. He just that poor Astrolabio.
Did they referee let him go down too many times?
He might have, man.
6 body shots. He went down, man. Dude. He kept going down.
But it's great. And Rob, I thought I felt crazy because I was thinking about Akatsugi before the fight, and I'm like, God damn, he fights like Joe Calzaghe a bit. And I'm like, I'm not going to say that. People think I'm crazy. But Chris Algieri said the same thing on the broadcast. And let me just say, not everything's not 1-to-1. It's not perfect. But if you look at the way that Akatsugi puts his punches together. He doesn't always swing hard on stuff. He throws a lot of off-speed punches. His offense is often his defense just by keeping your hands at home. He uses his feet just enough to decide whether he wants to engage or if he wants to be outside of your reach. And he's a tricky southpaw, and he deserves a shot at a bantamweight title. I'd love to see him get a homecoming fight in Japan because he's just toiled in obscurity. He's has 3 or 4 undefeated scalps on his record. He just can't find a fight, and and he didn't show knockout power before, but as he's getting into these fights that are more than 6 and 8 rounds, and he is having a chance to actually prepare instead of being brought in as a last minute opponent or on a couple weeks notice. I mean, this kid is really starting to shine through. He's training with the Mexicans, and I really think that Akatsugi is probably going to be a bantamweight titleist within the next 12 to 18 months.
Awesome. And this what they have on ProBox. This is a kind of a contender series, isn't it? It's a kind of like I guess highlighting guys. Do guys graduate from ProBox then and go back to like some of the bigger promoters? What's
Well, if you think about Lubin's last fight before Ortiz was a title eliminator on ProBox, and that's how he ended up in that position. And I think there's been a few other guys who've been there and gotten a chance. So it's really serving as a good place to showcase fighters. I would say that, because it's not necessarily guys with glossy records all the time. Sometimes you have those 17-3 guys who had a couple of bad shakes who are getting a chance again. So I'd say it's like somewhere in between.
No turkey, pun intended there when you're talking about bad shakes.
Yeah, it's like between, like, I would say, like, kind of in between what ESPN Friday Night Fights
and
Showbox used to be, and both of those being gone, it's feeling a nice little niche audience, and it's all on YouTube for free. I mean, that's when you look at the amount of money they're asking for people for these subscriptions, and now this premium DAZN subscription. It's just nice to be able to flip on YouTube and watch a few damn decent fights.
We're not going to pay $50 a month for that. I'll pay $50 a month for.
Good shout. Actually, Justin, might as well come to you on this because DAZN recently announced their new format. So this could take an interesting turn because a lot of boxing fans and former pay-per-view subscribers are now illegally watching fights on Fire Stick, allegedly. But over here on this side of the Atlantic, there's been a big crackdown on the Fire Stick. A guy from my town actually is being sued by Sky Sports for a 6-figure sum for lost revenue. I think Amazon this week made it more difficult to download apps that would allow you to install Fire Stick. So kind of making moves to combat piracy. With all that happening, the subscription model for DAZN, we could say at the start, didn't work. I mean, when it first came, I think it was, what was it, £5 a month or something, and you get unlimited fights, and then they jacked that up and then they started adding pay-per-views on top of it. Then your subscription wasn't guaranteeing you pay-per-view fights, so you were getting mediocre fights, that has to be said, or underwhelming cards. For the monthly subscription, which went up to 20 or so, I believe. And then you had to pay
to 30 if you weren't paying attention. They were getting you for
right. Okay. Yeah. So and then you had to pay for your pay-per-views on top of it. Now they've made an announcement this week to say that for the princely sum of $200 a year, I think, or 250 quid a year, you can have your regular fight schedule with 12 pay-per-view events. I don't know what these pay-per-views look like, but can you see a return to the paid subscription model coming back with this new DAZN announcement?
I think I think Steve Kim or somebody posted, I think we're looking at
$45
$45 a month for the premium, and it's like, and it's supposed to save you, like, it is.
So it's $540 per year for
nobody's fucking paying that. I've never paid that much money for boxing in my whole life.
So DAZN expected to pay 4 times the amount of the Netflix subscription, just to watch boxing. Yeah, okay. I can see people sticking to the Fire Stick, or finding other means to pirate that rather than go to DAZN.
Or not watch boxing. That's the problem. You're gonna have a lot of people just not try to. I mean, if they can't get it illegally, and then they've got to pay that much money, you're going to have a lot of people are just not going to pay $50. They're not going to pay for it. They're not going to pay $50 a month for that shit if they can't find it.
boxing, as much as people try to breathe life into it with terms of the Riyadh investment, the next Netflix exposure, it doesn't have fucking kick itself.
No,
it doesn't help itself at all with these subscription models. I mean, I know the zone are trying to keep the ship afloat here. This is probably the last desperate attempt to keep
no, Rob,
boxing
Rob,
on
you're
the
right.
zone.
You're right. That's exactly what I thought it was. When I saw it, the first thing I thought was what you just said. This is some kind of last ditch money grab effort. Because I mean, what's the next movie going to be? $100 a month? 200? I mean, they went from 5 to 50.
Yeah,
Well,
and
Really?
the cost of
and
living
my argument
crisis as well.
with my level of trust for these assholes, with everything they've pulled through the years, their terrible customer service, and on and on and on. What is to stop them after saying, "Oh, there's going to be no more pay-per-views"? Literally 4 months ago, from saying, "Oh, this super duper mega fight is not included in your premium subscription. This is a one-off, like once a year pay-per-view that you have to pay for ad hoc." Like, what is to fucking stop them from doing that? Nothing.
Yeah, it's. I would agree with you in terms of customer service. It's rinky dink. They were taking money out of. They were taking money like for different accounts, different DAZN accounts out of my bank for months, and I couldn't find which one it was to be able to cancel it. So they definitely got me for a couple of hundred and I never even watched the fight. So I would only ever subscribe to the zone if I was, say, staying away in a hotel or I was away on holidays and didn't have any other way of accessing the fight, and it was a fight I wanted to watch to comment on for the pod, or that I just desperately wanted to see. But I think they have delivered some good fights. We got both Baturbiev and Bibble fights on it, but again at a pay-per-view premium, like I think look, it'd be interesting to see what this return to terrestrial TV looks like in the UK. I don't think the right guy's at the helm, but that's a conversation for another day. But just in terms of, does anyone want to give any other thoughts on the Pro Box card or the undercard on Lubin and Ortiz?
Yeah, I watched the undercard of Lubin and Ortiz, and just to touch on Safar and Miller, I thought it was a fun fight. It was a cruiserweight fight, I think. Was it cruiserweight, Matty?
Yeah, cruiserweight.
Yeah, I thought it was a fun cruiserweight fight, and I think what happened was Safar realised that Miller couldn't hurt him. Miller's not a puncher. Safar's not really a puncher either, and I think he just sort of held his feet and and they were both throwing overhand rights. It was a fun fight to watch, but I agree with Matty. I don't think there's a particularly high ceiling for Safar, but he's quite unique in the fact that where he comes from, and he could be in quite some entertaining fights. And there's certainly a market for someone like him at cruiserweight for the moment in time, anyway. Um, I agree with Matty. I like Amari Jones. I was surprised though because he really hurt Gamal in the third round, dropped him, and Gamal didn't want to be there. And I was surprised that Jones wasn't more composed in the finish. He looked a little bit scrappy for someone who's sort of 14, 15 fights in. Someone who's making quite a big noise at 160. I thought he's going to be a little bit more composed. So I'd like to see him polish up on his finishing in them sort of spots. But yeah, I agree with Matty. I'm quite high on Jones as well. I think he could do something over the next 18 months. But the interesting one is probably Joshua Edwards. Now, he hurt the kid. He cut the, there was a clash of heads, and was there a clash of heads that he cut Varus with, Matty?
Yeah, and I think there was also a punch in there. It was a
It was
mess.
quite a grey area, wasn't it? And they was going to pull it out and do a technical draw. So I'm not quite sure if that affected the way Edwards went about his work. But at that time, when it was obvious that Varus was just going to stand behind a high guard, I'd like to have seen Edwards show a bit more variation. He was very proactive with his jab, and I understand he's only 5 fights in, and I'll come back to that point in a minute. But I'd like to have seen Edwards been instructed just touch him to the head and then work to the body, whip him in a little bit, get him to bring his hands down, then throw back over the top. I'd like to have seen him have a little bit of fun in there. But I understand they was concerned it could get pulled and he could get a technical draw on his record. So he was trying to get rid of the kid a little bit quickly. He's probably over anxious and rushing his work. But going back to how many fights he's had, he only turned pro in April. He's had 5 fights since then, and he's only had one completed round of pro boxing. So he's very inexperienced. I think he's very early to call any sort of judgment on Edwards. But I think what we should do is let the next 12 months play out, and they're doing what they should do with these young heavyweights. They're keeping him busy. He's very active. and they're putting him in against reasonable guys that can not beat him, but give him a test. And I like what they're doing with Edwards, and I think we should give him the affordability and luxury. Say, look, go away and have a year at this, and let's assess you over the next 8 or 9 fights. And when you're 15 fights in, we'll have a little bit more of an understanding of what we've got. But at the moment, he's a young heavyweight, turned over. He's very active. He's got a little bit of charisma. He's got something about him. And I'm one of the old school. I like a heavyweight American. I think boxing needs an American heavyweight. So fingers crossed he could be one of them.
Yeah, very fair. I think we'd all like to see a return to the days of American heavyweights, just because they gave so much to the sport over the years and to the heavyweight division. I mean, it wasn't really until the takeover of Vladimir Klitschko that it started to come back to. I mean, obviously Lennox as well, but Lennox was based out there for so long as well and fighting out of America. He was almost part of the furniture and had so many common American opponents. It wasn't until the Klitschko brothers kind of got hold of the two belts that another kind of the Europeans had any say in the heavyweight division in the modern era. So I think the boxing fan inside all of us would love to see a return um to glory for an American heavyweight. I don't know about this guy. I think he's still a little bit small, but we'll see as time goes by. But I think in terms of the two cards that we had last night, we don't want to drag the arse out of a fight that was basically the main event was over in 2 rounds, and the rest was kind of prospects or pro box cards. We have the return next week of Eubank and Ben, but before we get to that, let's have a look at the undercard. So Adam Smith, being the Beanie, the Bean Man, Mr. Bean, will be super excited because he said on the broadcast a couple of weeks ago that he could not wait for Jack Catterall versus Echo Esserman, which is essentially the co-main event on the fight. Catterall is 31-2 with 13 KOs, and this is a huge domestic clash. Catterall is bouncing back under a new coach. Jerome Ennis his ears are going to be burning because we can't stop talking about him. He's under a new coach, Jerome Ennis's dad, Bosey Ennis. And that shift is just so interesting to me. Honestly, how the fuck a guy goes from Charlie to Philly, I don't know, but I do admire it. I always thought Catterall was a little bit of a slick fighter. Maybe we had our guy Gadja Grill back with us a couple of weeks ago, giving some insights from the Ennis camp, talking about what Catterall could have gained from the move to Bosey Ennis. Maybe some inside fighting, maybe a slick some slicker style footwork, but Esselman has the momentum now off the back of the Taylor win. Um, which one of these guys goes now to the next step? Des, I'm going to come to you first on this one actually, because you're based in the UK and your knowledge of both of these guys is very, very strong. What do you think of, first of all, this move for Catterall and Bosey Ennis? What's this going to look like, and how do you see it playing out in the fight with Esselman?
Well, with regards to the move, we won't know, and this until we see Jack perform and perhaps 2 or 3 fights in, or it could get derailed early. I, I'm always a little bit skeptical when a kid can relocate to the other side of the world or even to the other side of a country. I don't think it ever suited young Campbell Hatton when he come down south, because you're taking a young fella away from his home and the geographical culture that
It
there's
depends
always
on
been
it
surrounded by.
depends on the people around them though and stuff. Like sometimes it's good to get people like out of their local area if they, ran around with fools and stuff and they
Yeah,
keep getting them into dumb shit. But I don't think that's necessarily what Catterall was doing it for. Not
but
at all. I mean,
I've
I've heard
seen,
nothing of that about the man. So
but I've seen so many fighters sitting in hotel rooms or rented houses, bored, lonely, and missing their family. I've seen it, so I'm not
that's
quite
why
sure
Alice
if an
Cooper took up
yeah.
golf, Des, is because he found himself sitting in hotel rooms,
Mm.
between concerts and shit like that, just waiting around, and he'd drink and do drugs. He like needed something to do in the day, and that was golf gave him that structure. He says golf saved his life.
And I can, I might be wrong here. I'm just this is speculation on my part, but I'm boxing's a lonely sport. You're on your own. You're an island, and sometimes when you're in the gym, you're still competing. And to go back to an empty house or an empty flat, an apartment, a hotel, it can really suck the life out of you. And I,
Well, look
I've
at all
always
the
been a
people
believer.
Pacquiao kept around him, Des. Like he had his,
Yeah.
we laughed at his entourage at times, and their goofiness, sleeping in the same bed and stuff. But Pacquiao was surrounded by people he knew and loved, and that he could trust.
It's a prime example of what I mean there. He separated himself from his culture. And he understood, I've got to leave the Philippines, but I'm going to bring as much of my culture and my lifestyle as I can with me. And you sometimes see 24, 25 of them in an apartment together. So I understand. And look, this is all speculation on my part. But if you're asking me the question, Rob, what do I think about this relocation of fighters? I've never been, you have to really sell it to me because I've seen so many fail. But there are the ones that do work. And look, there's instances where guys like Tyson Fury can be in America, but he can't be in Big Bear. It's very specific to the fighter and the environment they're in. So we won't know the answer to that question, Rob, until Jack's 2 or 3 fights in. But this one's a hard one, Rob. Echo Esserman is a tough guy. And, if you look back at Echo's career, they've not fancied him in probably the last 10 fights he's had. He probably wasn't meant to win, the Chris Jenkins one. And then if you follow every fight from Chris Jenkins, whether it's, Darren Tetley or Antwi or Congo or Scarf or Cooper or Vaughan, even Josh Taylor, he wasn't meant to come through them ones. And there's a lot of unbeaten fighters in that group. And Echo he's not a puncher, but he's a world-class hard man, a tough guy who gets stronger as the rounds go on. And if the only way I think Jack can win this one is if he can fiddle Echo about, offset him, and half switch him off. But Echo's not the guy that gets switched off. He gets switched on, and he gets better and better. And we see it against Josh Taylor. This guy grinds you down. And I know that wasn't the Josh Taylor that we all love and respect from the early part of his career, the middle part of his career. But it was still a hard fight. It was still a hard guy to beat. And Josh was still Josh, a high-end domestic class kid at the time Echo got him. I think this is going to be a big one for Echo Esserman. And if Jack is not at it, if Jack is not really on that game that he's got with that jab and that keeping distance, if his feet ain't working, Echo will press him and grind him down. So that's a hard one for Jack. And with a new trainer on the back of a new type of camp, yeah, it's a hard one for Jack. And Echo is in that fight.
It's interesting because both these guys are both Josh Taylor and Cattrall were with the old MTK before they departed the scene. A great bunch of lads altogether, it has to be said. But since Cattrall suffered his extremely controversial loss, where he's basically robbed in February 22 by the judges against Josh Taylor, he had a kind of fights that you'd expect him to win. Dara Foley, great game guy, Irish guy based out of Oz, but essentially a club fighter. The ghost of Jorge Linares, it has to be said, a guy who I don't think he would have been able to live with in his prime. He then got his revenge on Josh Taylor, beat Prograis, who's a guy who flatters to deceive, and then lost to
It was getting
Barboza.
dropped by Jojo Diaz, mind you. So
Exactly. So then he loses to Barboza when you're expecting him to win, and then the Eubank one ends in a head clash. So, Matty, where is Cattrall? Is he like he definitely had promise? There was something about him. Maybe he's taken the kind of the loss to Barboza and this last kind of controversial clash with Eubank as a wake up call, and he wants to change something and realize his potential. It's a crossroads fight for both of them, but one that Cattrall needs to win this one, doesn't he? Certainly.
yeah, and well, he absolutely needs to win this one to prove his relevance at this point in time. And I think what I like about this fight is I think that both guys, their styles are going to play well off of each other because, Echo is kind of a come forward, and I'm not saying he does it thoughtlessly, but it's and it's not with reckless abandon by any stretch. But Echo, comes forward, tries to throw punches, make things uncomfortable, force you to fight. And Catterall's whole game is trying to find ways to slow it down and make it so he doesn't have to fight. And I think that Esselman's style is going to push him into some uncomfortable spaces. And Jack is just such a sharper puncher than Echo. I mean, particularly with that left hand of his, that he's going to have all sorts of moments to land some really clean shots that the judges are going to be pretty high on. But at the same time, he's going to have to keep up this pace. I think can't remember if this is a 10 or a 12 rounder here. If I was Catterall, I would want it to be 10 rounds. Because Esselman,
I'm fucking sick of 10 rounders, by the way. We had a couple of 10 rounders recently. This is not back in the fucking, what you call it, the 1950s. What, have 12 rounders, like, for fellas are going to be fucking, they only fight
Yeah, I
twice a
agree.
year these
I'm
days
with
anyway.
you.
Like,
I'm with
I've
you.
had enough of these 10 rounders.
But
sorry, go ahead.
But I really think that it's going to be an entertaining fight, and I would say, like, it's going to be about who can impose their style more. I mean, can Catterall slow it down just enough to make Echo question the shots that he's throwing and not be his usual high motor self, or can Echo crowd the space and keep his hands moving enough that Jack doesn't get the chance to sit and look for those pretty counters that he's known for. But I would think if you're looking for something that might separate these guys in this fight, it's all about momentum. I mean, Echo Esselman is a fighter that's on an upward trajectory, all positive momentum. And Catterall is a guy who's been toiling in obscurity and can't seem to find a way to actually cross over the bridge and get a title and get to the point where he is considered the man, which he thinks he was robbed of the first time in the Taylor fight. But considering that, and that this is at 147, not 140, which is Esselman's division, I gotta say I gotta lean towards Esselman in this fight.
Interesting. Justin, in terms of becoming the man for Jack Catterall at 147, there is a wealth of riches and an abundance of riches available for him should he get past Echo Esselman and put himself in the mix for the winner of maybe Haney versus Norman Jr. I have to say quickly before we come back to this undercard, I've really become a fan of the guy Norman Jr. in the way that he's handled Devin Haney in the build up to this fight, which of course happens later in the month. Something that I called years ago here on the pod was that Devin Haney was carbon copying some of Floyd Mayweather's catchphrases. Well, he tried to do it in the face to face, and Norman called him out on it. I think it was you. What did he say? You violate and I'll demonstrate, Haney said. And Norman quickly cut across him to say, stop taking Floyd's playbook, stop trying to take Floyd's quotes. And then somebody else confronted him with a microphone in his face and tried to show him 4 of Devin Haney's outfits off Instagram. And Norman said, this is what's wrong with boxing. You're asking me about an outfit and I'm ready to throw hands and get bans. He said, I'm in a $5 t-shirt and I'm ready to throw hands and get bans. That's all ahead of Catterall, potentially, if he could get past Esselman. Esselman's, I think Maddie is right in what he's saying. Esselman is coming in here on some great momentum. Potentially the fact that he's moving up from 40 to 47 might play a part. What do you think from this? Catterall the real deal, or will he be going from back to Charlie from being West Philadelphia, born and raised temporarily?
I think this is going to be a boring fight.
No,
I don't think this fight.
If it is, Catterall wins. If it's boring, Catterall wins.
Yeah, I don't think. I think Esselman. I think Matt said he has to make this. He has to make the fight because Catterall's not going to make the fight at all. I don't care how long he's been in Philadelphia training. He's not going to bring that style because you can't change who you are. And he is a sit back, counter punching. That's what he does. He's not going to open up. And I think Norman Jr. is going to beat Haney. And I think Esselman will beat Catterall, and I think it'll be Esselman versus versus Norman if they want to do that.
Well,
I like Norman Jr.
Well, I was going to follow on from that. One thing he could be certain is I think he could make fights with Norman Jr. because he doesn't seem to play into the kind of I'm a star. He's there.
No, he has a chip on
anybody.
He has a chip on his shoulder. He does. I don't think he. Yeah, right. He doesn't care about all the bullshit. I think he just wants to get paid and fight anybody.
And he's been brought in as an opponent and overcome adversity, wasn't he? He wasn't supposed to beat that kid from San Diego and then ended up knocking him out.
I think he's been an opponent even when he was defending the title in Japan. They were kind of like, maybe they could sneak the title from him. That's why they brought him over. They were thinking they could kind of sneak one from him. But I think Norman I think he beats Haney. He don't stop him or nothing. I think he beats Haney, and I think Esteban and Catterall is going to be a horrible freaking fight to watch. But I think Catterall might do enough. I don't know. That's going to be a bad fight. Catterall's never going to open up and be in a good fight. And it's just going to be – all of that's going to be ugly. But I think Norman Jr. beats Haney, and then I think Norman Jr. beats either one of those guys, in my opinion. I like Norman Jr. Like you said,
me too.
He's real. He's real. He doesn't have to pretend and try to be something he's not and try to copy shit. He's just who he is. I like the $5 T-shirt thing. Yeah, like you said,
he's cutting through the bullshit. Somebody needed to call out Haney on his Floyd imitation.
Oh, and he called his dumbass.
As well.
See Haney's new leg tattoos and shit, and call him out for just fucking being a diva and not thinking he's Haney is one of these guys. I think he could lose 4 fights in a row and he would still act like he's Floyd Mayweather.
Norman Senior has been giving away a bit of the game plan. Actually, I don't want to spend too much time on this one because I know we're going to have to cover it down the line. But he's made a really good point on Haney's style. He said he's a marcher. So he's making out that his feet are not as good as he thinks they are, is that he marches forward a little bit and they might be planning on catching him out. But anyway, we'll come back to that one shortly.
Well, next week we can come back to that one technically.
Yeah, exactly, because it's the week after, isn't it? So Adam Azim is on the up, 13-0, 10 KOs. He's going to face Zor Abdullayev.
Zor Abdullayev.
Whatever this guy's name is, if it's good, then he's that. To paraphrase Muhammad Ali and Howard Cosell. A Russian guy who is coming off a loss to Raymond Maratala. Adam Azim is another guy who's highly touted, British star, heavily favoured in Riyadh. They're trying to make him appealing over there. I don't know if he's being like matched extra carefully, but this one is surely a test for him. Des, how do you see Adam Azim coping with Zor Abdullayev?
He's fighting Kurt Scobie now. I think it was changed too.
Oh shit! Okay.
Yeah, but Abdullayev they pulled out, so they brought Scobie in.
Okay. Well, I know nothing about Scobie, so you're going to have to inform me then.
He's been on some overtime.
He's been on some overtime boxing cards. He lost a fight recently, I think. He's
got beat by Dakota Linger. He got beat last year.
Yeah, by Dakota.
He's had a decent run. He's had a decent run.
He's an athletic puncher. You know, but
he'll get well beat. But they've had to save Adam on the card, and they've had to bring Scobie in. So it is what it is. I'm sure Shane McGuigan's not overly happy about it, but at least he's getting Adam out. And to pick up on what you said there, Rob, in terms of Adam Azim's profile, you know, this is a kid that I think is a talent. I think he can punch. I think whenever he has to step up, he performs ever so well. I think he hits a really interesting, number of points. I think he hits a different demographic. I think there's a different side to Adam that we haven't seen yet. A bit more personality could come out in him maybe. But he's only a kid. He's won some really good titles so far in a short space of time. You know, there's a lot to have from this kid, and we could really get some miles out of Adam Azim. But I'd love to see him get pushed a bit more now. And I'm not saying there's any rush to push him at the high end, the upper echelons of a dangerous division. But I think we could move him a little bit faster. But they have been unlucky. And there's a part of me that thinks for the last few years, Adam Azim and Shane McGuigan, they've been on the outside of the mainstream promoters, and they've probably not wanted to dance to the mainstream promoters' tunes. So they've kind of had to take what they can, and they're doing it their own way. But I think it'd be really nice if the next 18 months we can see Adam Azim get going a bit. It's all right boxing on these cards, but we want to see Adam. We want to see Adam in exciting fights. We want to see him in competitive fights, like our Hira Davis type thing. People we recognise, people we can engage him against. And Thomas Newman, who's on our chat, and he knows his boxing. Thomas, he made the point about Catron and Esu, Rob, that the Tottenham Stadium is not built for boxing. It's going to be emptied out until the main event. So we're still not getting Adam boxing in front of an atmospheric crowd. And I'd like to see a bit more of that from Adam. Sorry, mate, go on.
No, he probably needs that experience as well. That's a good point. But you need to have experience under the lights sometimes before you make that jump. But surely, based on what we've seen from
Ro-
him, that he's not a million miles away from the likes of a Gary
no, he's
Antoine
not.
Russell or Richardson Hitchens or someone like that who can't really, who's good for filling you about. Who's not a big puncher like that. I think certainly if they get past Scobie, maybe get another a fight like the Abdullayev one to kind of build him up. That he's not a million miles away, Azim, is he?
Mm. Do you know what? Do you know what I think though, Rob? We always moan about this. I think I do, but because we've got no small hall boxing anymore, it's feast or famine where that's concerned. You either
Mm.
see Adam on these huge cars like a Tottenham Hotspur or Wembley, where it's a third full and there's no atmosphere and it's not great to watch unless you're a boxing fan. But in the old days, we'd have seen Adam Azim at York Hall, we'd have seen him in Manchester, we'd have seen him in Birmingham. He'd have gone around the country on the smaller halls in front of 1,500 people. It was very atmospheric. He'd have fought for British titles and defended them, and it would have been. We would have watched his rise. We'd have watched him come up, and he'd have learnt so much on them small hall shows. But because we don't see that, fighters don't have it anymore. I think it's taken something away from their growth, their development. I'm certain Adam Azine is a good fighter. I'm certain
Mm.
he's a talent, and I think he's with a good trainer. He's got good people around him, but we haven't tapped into that potential yet. And I think not being with the right promoters hasn't helped him. But I understand his decision making. I understand where he want to go with him. And Shane said it a few times. We're not in a rush. I get that. But we've been talking about Adam Azim now for the last 2.5 years on this pod, and Thomas is right, although he was talking about Eku and Jack, but you could apply to Adam as well. We're going to see him in front of in a 65,000 seat stadium. We're going to see him boxing in front of 10,000 people, and it's not quite where we want to see a talent like Adam at the early stage. I'd like to see him a bit further down the line, but I understand we're in a very strange situation
Yeah.
with boxing at the moment.
No, well, stay with me, Des, because I want to go to you on this one first. So the other notable fight on the undercard before we move on to the main event for next week is Richard Riakpor's debut at heavyweight versus an interesting character called Tommy Hellboy Welsh, who's 16-0 with 9 KOs, fighting out of Brighton. I guess the main question is here: does Riakpor's power carry up to heavyweight, and is he going chasing the bag here, getting out of um the kind of no man's land, which is the
Mm.
cruiserweight division at the moment. There's no seem to that bridgerweight division never seemed to take off or never seemed to get any traction. Never had a kind of a named fighter fighting there. Can Riakporhe get himself in the mix for some big British? Because that seems to be the way forward for the heavyweights, isn't it? Be
Oh,
Yeah,
British, be a
oh,
yeah.
heavyweight, and get yourself a big fight.
I just realized, how have we never thought of the nickname Richard Reacts Poor? The shit.
Well,
Well, he's been doing good so far, hasn't he? So he hasn't. His
Eh,
reactions have been pretty decent.
eh.
yeah. I mean,
Um,
Richard's career has been a little bit. Uh, Richard's a bit like he's coming behind that sort of in that group of boxers that have been involved in British boxing for the last 10 years that they've been governed by these certain management companies, and I'm not quite sure if Richard's got quite the substance that matches a profile. And
uh-huh.
the big letdown for me was against Billum Smith. He had it all on his own terms. He was at Selhurst Park.
He
They would
beaten
all
Smith
come out
before
for
as
him.
well, hadn't he? He beaten
He'd
Smith
beaten
and
Smith,
Massey as well
yeah. But
beforehand.
Smith had shown growth.
Yeah.
Smith had shown growth since that fight. As like say, Jack Massey was unlucky not to get the decision over Riakporhe. I think Massey showed a lot of growth. I'm not quite sure Richard showed the same growth, and I think maybe going back to the point I made where perhaps his um, the the personality and the celebrity around Richard didn't match the talent and didn't match the hard work. Look, you've only got to look at Richard to know that this kid works hard in the gym. There's no doubt about that, and he looks after himself. Will he be able to go up a heavyweight? Look, I'm not saying he doesn't beat Tommy Walsh, who can punch, and so well, his record suggests he can punch, and the guys he's been in with, he can punch at that level. But Richard's going to have to be a lot more proactive, a lot more aggressive. He's going to have to be a lot more assertive, believe in his power, believe in his right hand, because we've spoke about Richard as a big puncher at cruiserweight. Well, he's going to have to go and prove it now at heavyweight. I think he comes through the Tommy Walshes of the world, but I'm not quite sure how far he goes, Rob. And that heavyweight division, we speak about this a lot on the pod because there's a lot of activity, whether it's David Adelaide or Fabio or Big Frey's coming back into it, or Jamie TKV, or and the young kid that's Moses Atoma. There's an awful lot of sharks around that domestic level, European level, and just above it where Fabio's sitting. And we've not even got to the big ones yet. So, and Lawrence Okoli's in that group as well.
Well, their fight was cancelled as well, so he was a little bit unlucky with
Yeah,
that one, wasn't it? That one was
yeah, he
pulled. Like,
was. I'm not sure where. I'm not sure, Rob. In answer to your question, mate. Sorry, I've gone around the houses. I'm not quite sure where Richard goes in the heavyweight division. I'm not quite sure where he goes in boxing. I think Richard hit his level in the second Billum Smith fight, and I'm not quite sure he'll ever get back to that or better it. If I'm honest.
okay, fair enough. Justin, Maddie, anything else to add on Richard Reactpoor apart from Richard reacts poorly? Do we care enough to delve any further into this Richard Reactpoor versus Tommy the Hellboy Welsh, or do you want to just go to
I
the?
think the only point worth making is that this is a pay-per-view, ladies and gentlemen.
Oh,
Do
for
with that
fuck's sake.
information what you will.
Well, we know why it's a pay per view because the main event did 620,000 pay per view buys the last time out, which is astronomical numbers considering the activity of the fire sticks particularly in the UK market. So people bought into it. That's why we're seeing a lot of us didn't want to see it the first time. A lot of us, after we saw the state of Eubank completely emaciated, making weight, said we didn't want to see it again. But money talks and bullshit runs the marathon, and these two are doing it again. So I suppose no better place to start. Now I was back with Maddie here. Look, it's the rivalry has deep roots. The fathers, Eubank Senior and Nigel Bain, had a brutal two-fight rivalry back in the 90s. We've talked about that till the cows come home. These two are poor imitations of both their old lads, but have still managed to make an impact in terms of crossover appeal, and it's in somewhat terms of legacy, even though they haven't won a world title between the two of them, or a recognized world title if you're not counting the IBO titles that Eubank has won. The two of them again are selling out the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. As much as we complained about this fight the last time, we had the doping scandal, the weight scandal, every kind of fucking scandal you could imagine. When these two went to the arena and you saw Eubank Senior step out of the limo with Junior, it did hit a lot of nostalgia points for me, and actually reluctantly for me, I got caught up in the fucking thing when I was watching it, and it actually turned out to, because Eubank was so weight drained and there was so much energy and high stakes in terms of the family pride, it actually turned out to be an entertaining contest for guys at this level. Now, I have to say and admit that I've never gone back and rewatched it again. It wasn't like a thriller in Manila, but it certainly did get me invested on the night. Matty, where do you see the rematch going? Who do you think has a better chance after the time has passed? Eubank has to make weight again. Ben maybe would see areas for improvement based on his first performance. Is there a chance of the reverse here?
I think it all depends on how well Eubank is able to make the weight at the end of the day. Bomack's in his corner, and I think the best he's ever looked was under Bomack. And it's very interesting. Bomack is welcome back into the country, but that's for another show and another day. But yeah, I mean, ultimately, and you look at the first fight. We all watch the sport long enough to know when boxers didn't make the weight well, and when they look like they're suffering a bit. And we know that Eubank looked like shit. And he still came away with the victory, showing incredible fortitude and throwing over 100 punches in the last round to seal the deal. But again, it comes down, if he makes the weight safely, it's a middleweight against a welterweight with an ego that's far bigger than his punch, and it should definitely go back in Eubank's favor again, as long as he makes the weight correctly. And I think this time probably by knockout.
Yeah, I can't disagree with that. To be honest with you, if I was looking at it, I'd probably see. Yeah, if the rehydration clause or whatever, I don't know. Like I'm not privy to that kind of information, and it's probably available for me to look into, but I don't know enough about it myself to properly making a judgment on it, on how it's going to impact Eubank. Although I do know he looked drained and dead the last time. If there's no rehydration clause this time, maybe you'd imagine he looks a little bit stronger and could possibly put the foot down. One thing of note for me, Justin, was just how rocked Eubank looked when he did get clips. That wasn't something I expected. A lot of people have spoken about Conor Ben's power over the years. I mean, he has power at a certain level. He was knocking over men and taxi drivers for his first 10 fights on Sky. Then he developed a lot of power. Um, exactly where he got that power out of, I don't know, but he developed a lot of power when he was stopping the likes of Chris Algieri. Um, but again, he was up at 160. I didn't expect it to carry up. I don't know if it's a combination of Ben's raw power at 60 as he packed on the pounds and Eubank being emaciated, but he did seem to rock Chris Eubank Jr. early in the fight last time. Do you think if he jumps on him, that you do you think? Sorry, do you think that the weight range Eubank resulted in him having kind of diminished powers of recovery or the power to absorb the shots from Ben? And is there a danger that if that happens again, that he gets knocked out by Ben?
I think it was 100% the fact that he was almost like a skeleton. Because, I mean, Ben couldn't hurt Pistol Pete Dobson. And so I don't think that it was because.
During a matinee.
Yeah, I don't think it was because Ben has this great power moving up. I think it's the fact that Eubank was just dead. He was just dead. Luckily, I can't believe he got through that, actually, the whole 12 rounds, because I don't give a shit about this fight. I never have. I still don't. I still don't care about this fight. I don't see how people that 600,000 people paid for. I don't see how they sold out. I guess there's nothing else better to do in the UK than go watch that. I guess you just want something to do. I can think of 9,000 different things I would rather do than pay the money to go watch. I guess people just want to have a good time and get drunk and sing songs and just hang out because the fight, I could care less
Well,
about either
to
one of
kind
these.
of to kind of present a very poor equivalent, it'd be like if Ray Leonard and Hagler had sons and they wanted
Oh,
to take
God.
up the mantle.
Yeah,
Not saying that Eubank and Ben were in the same category as Leonard and Hagler, but certainly in terms of how those two fights captivated this side of the Atlantic. It was the only show in town. It was one of the biggest sporting events in boxing
but
history
it
for the
but it
UK.
does
So
but it does show, though, more than anything else, when Fury fights AJ, which he will, how big that's going to be. If this is this big and they make so much money off of this, how big would that fight be? I just don't. I could see, actually, getting back to the question, I could see Ben stopping Eubank. And people think I'm crazy, but like you said, he hurt him multiple times in that
definitely
first
hurt
fight.
him. Definitely hurt him.
If he clips him, and Eubank is going to be a weaker version than he was in the first fight. He's not going to get any better than he was in the first fight. He has to keep sucking down this weight. He's not going to show up all of a sudden. He's just naturally at the weight now and he's going to look good. So Ben is automatically going to be ready for this weight. He's going to be in the prime at this weight. He's going to be fit for this. He's not going to have to suck all the weight down. He's going to be ready to go. So I could see, if I had to bet money, I might put the money on Ben. I'm going to put money on the Ben knockout. I think Ben will knock out Eubank. I think he'll stop him
Interesting.
because I think Eubank's going to be worse than he was in the first fight. There's no way his motor is going to be able to be at the same level it was, and he's going to keep going another 12 rounds like he did when we know that he is just dead at this weight, that he's sucking everything.
He'll be fine. This one's for Victor.
Yeah, I got it. Yes.
Well,
God.
that's really interesting that you say that, because I thought that Ben, even though he didn't get the win, he actually in the immediate aftermath, when you saw him like do his press run out in America with Ariel Helwani and he's sitting beside Shakur Stevenson and these guys, I think he had a kind of a weight lifted off his shoulders, because I don't think he believed in himself at all throughout his entire career. And I think the fact that he put in a gallant performance against Eubank at middleweight, I think his stock actually went up a little bit, and it might have taken some of the pressure off him. Because he knows he can hurt Eubank now, and he might try and box a little bit. I think if he tries to box Eubank, that'll probably play into his hands. Days, I know me and you were going back and forward on the WhatsApp on this when we were watching it live. I think everybody was willing Eubank to win just for the way Ben had, popped 30, etc. We don't need to rehash all that old stuff. But how do you see the rematch playing out? And do you think that Eubank has a chance of doing this weight again? And I know there's a contrarian view to this as well, right? Because a lot of us in the boxing circles were saying we can't believe Eubank looked like a skeleton. This is horrible. And then there's the kind of the pro matchroom crowd who are offering the argument to say that Eubank has been making this weight pretty much for his last 5 or 6 fights, so it shouldn't be such a big deal now. But do you think it's going to play a factor in the second time out, or do you think it'll just be business as usual for you and your mate Bomac on the night?
Well, well, is this definitely at middleweight this fight? Because I've paid very little attention to it, and I'm not even up to speed with it. I've not watched any of the press conferences. I wasn't
And you
overly
know what?
impressed with
That's a
the
good
first
point. One,
fight.
one of the one of the guys in the chat said as well. It hasn't the momentum for it this time around. The rematch is not as big as the original one. Like definitely not. It
No,
was
it's
it was
not.
the only
No, it's
show in
not.
town when the first fight happened, but it's kind of crept up on us very quickly this time. So I
Mm,
don't I don't I think it's at 160, but I can't be 100% sure.
okay.
Maybe some of the guys in the chat will enlighten us. But um, regardless if it's 157, 160, how do you see it playing out?
Well, he was at 168 on Tuesday. Gone, Eubank. I got told he was coming at 168, and they're happy with his weight. They're doing an awful lot of work with a body bag. He's got 3 trainers in camp with him. Bomac's the head trainer, and they're really happy with it. That they think he's a much better version of Chris in this camp than he was in the last camp. That's the word that's coming out of camp.
So you're telling me Eubank's
Um,
going to cut 8 pounds nice and easy?
well, as I said to the guy that was feeding this all to me, I said it's the last 2 kilos that kill you. So being
Yeah.
£8 over with with pretty much 2 weeks to go, it'd lose £4, in 3 or 4 days doing it properly. But then
It
it's the last
depends
two
how
kilos that take
hydrated
it
he
all out of you.
is. It depends how hydrated he is sitting at that 168 right now.
And he's near to the bone at 160 anyway. So the last 2 kilos will be what take his legs away. So it's going to be hard work for him, but I don't think he can look as bad as what he did first time. And I think that probably led to. I remember watching it, and you're quite right, Rob. We was talking while it was on, and if you remember, Rob, we didn't think much of the fight. We thought this was like 2 kids boxing for an area title. They wasn't turning their hands
It was a
over. They
terrible
wasn't
fight. Uh-huh.
they wasn't looking for traps. It was a case of just you hit me, I hit you, and the crowd bought into that, and that probably says a lot about. I don't mean to be disrespectful. That probably says a lot about the majority of the people that was watching this type of fight, because I always judge it by the common man in the street that talks about fights, and no one talks to me about. If I go down to the health club, no one talks to me about uh, Crocker and Donovan. No one talks to me about Boots and Ortiz, but they're talking to me about this one. So it has, for whatever reason, attracted a lot of attention. That said, I've been told that tickets are not going well for this one. They're not going like they did for the first one. So people have, kept their money in their pocket, and tickets ain't gone like the first one. And I'm not quite sure if we've seen the same sort of viral traction or interest that we did in the first one that we have for this one. So
Definitely not. I
where
don't.
does it
It
go?
hasn't had
No.
it hasn't had the crossover appeal. It's a good. It's a good actually segue to lead into. I'm going to come back to Maddie on this. The winner. Look, if Eubank wins this one, it seems as though he's never cared about legacy. Like he still hasn't. I don't believe he still fought for a version of a world title. Maybe he fought for one against George Groves when he got beaten, but I think that was in the semi final of the Super Six, wasn't it? So it wasn't even for a
If
title.
if
So
if he wins, there's only one fight that makes sense for him and makes
Canelo.
good money. Nope, Hamza Shiraz.
Shiraz, yeah, no, yeah, no, good shout. He's actually been lined up for the rematch with Berlanga. Maybe
Oh
Berlanga has
Fuck
has
me,
no.
isn't that one of the stupidest
He don't
goddamn
go
things
nowhere
you've
near
ever heard?
Shiraz.
But
He don't
Berlanga
go
has
nowhere near
opened his
Shiraz.
mouth and he took his ass whooping and then has gone Glovegate route. Glovegate seems to be the route to getting your
Oh,
rematch. If you get your ass
fucking
beat,
eat
say that
my
the gloves
ass.
were loaded, so enough fucking idiots online will buy into it, and you get yourself another a crack at the you get yourself another pop at it. Like I
What
don't
a
know. So yeah,
dick.
Shiraz versus Eubank. I don't know if Eubank could
Yeah,
take that fight. If I,
that's
I,
more
I think
likely.
I think you might see Eubank versus Canelo and have Eubank have one more dance that he would, where it's a name and he would, get it, make a shit ton of money out of it fighting Canelo. I think yeah, I think Hamza Sheeraz will be at the stage where he'd be looking at stopping Eubank, especially after he's been drained so much to get down to this. But anyway, that's my thoughts on it. In terms of Conor Ben, where does he go? Because if he puts in another close performance, his career is certainly not over. There's doors open to him. There talks that he's already looking at Mario Barrios, isn't it? Or one of those like.
Isn't
Um,
everybody?
Everybody's looking at Mario Barrios, man. Mario Barrios has the biggest target on his back, but somehow it's still the champion. Fucking all these years later, like, so he
I,
must be
I
doing something
I
okay.
swear I've seen him I swear I've seen him box 3 times in person, which ties him for for Crawford for the most that I've seen any fighter, and I don't know how it happened. I've like never purposefully gone to see Mario
Hey,
Barrios.
just
That's
admit
very
you're a big
good.
fan of Mario Barros.
I enjoy watching him fight, dude. That Abel Ramos fight was fucking tastic. That
Super
was one of the
Mario.
best
Rob,
fights I've seen live. But honestly, like Ryan Garcia is supposed to fight Barrios. The winner of that fight, I guess, is interesting. I don't think he wins either of those. I think that Ben's level is somewhere like he could probably. I think of the most competitive fight for Ben, honestly, at the weight he belongs at, which is at 147, or at least not even maybe competitive, just to see where he really sits at the weight he belongs, would be the winner of Esserman and Catterall. That's one guy's.
Yeah, good sure. I actually saw
Rob.
one of their. Sorry, Des. Go ahead, dude.
No, I'm just going to come in at that. I think we've got to put this type of fight in its own little microcosm. This isn't it's boxing, but not boxing as we know it. It's boxing, but it's not the mainstream version of boxing. It's like it's not quite pantomime. It's not misfits, but it's somewhere between pro boxing that we know and love and misfits boxing. This sits somewhere in the middle of it. And I think, from what I was told, on the first fight, it was a 10 million to Eubank, 8 million to Connor. That was the purses.
And
And
five
this
hundred
one, the
thousand
re
dollars to Connor for
Outrageous,
the egg.
outrageous.
right, and it's outrageous. And the rematch was always pending at the contracts. That was always going to happen. And the loser of the first one gets 4, and the winner gets 8, or something like that. So when these two fights have been completed, and these two lads sit down, I really don't think Conor Ben's ever going to get back in with a proper fighter that can turn him over for $1.5 million or $2.5 million. I don't think Eubank's the same. Eubank's never shown any type of inclination to fight for legacy. So I think you could really see this now that Eubanks had a long career. He's been boxing, he's been boxing since Mick Hennessy had an ITV deal or a Channel 4 deal, whatever it was. And Conor Ben's had a lot going on in his personal life. I think Eubank's been weight drained, and in the first Conor Ben fight, I didn't quite like his legs. I didn't quite like his body language. He looked to me like a fight that's on his way to being a busted flush or shot. So I wouldn't be surprised if at the end of this one, they'll do a bit of marketing, they'll milk it a bit more, they'll do a little bit of a tour. But I think this might be the last you see of them because I just don't think the money they've had, I don't think they get anywhere close to that in a proper fight against a proper fighter. They've come around at the same time and they've been very, very good for each other. And it's a very unique situation, this.
I agree with you. I think certainly it could be the end of Eubank. Potentially one last fight. I think like I said, if Canelo would want somebody that he could feast on for his last fight, and I think we're very close to seeing Canelo's last fight. I know Eubank was touted as a potential opponent for him when he was under the tutelage of Roy Jones. I agree with you. I think he looked very close to being shot. I thought he was actually shot since maybe the Smith fight. Um, Not that when I say shot, I'm not saying that Eubank was ever well. We never really know how good he could have been. I think he fell
No, I know what
short
you mean. I
every
know what
time
you mean.
he
I know what
stepped
you
up,
mean.
and he was content, he was content just
Yeah.
keeping his career going. We saw him lose to Groves, we saw him lose to Saunders, we
It's
saw him
so
lose.
unique. This situation
Yeah,
is so unique. It really is different.
and these two basically are earning more than any other fighters in the sport because of who their dads were. And look, we can't control that. That it is what it is. We wouldn't be watching these two at all, let alone on a pay per view, if their second names weren't Eubank and Ben. So we know that. But I actually think Eddie's invested too much into Conor Ben to just let him cash out with this Eubank fight. I think he has high hopes for Ben, and they could market Ben. Conor Ben is a marketable fighter if he has a belt around his waist, which is interesting enough because, like we said, it hasn't caught fire here in terms of, kind of viral interest in it. But one of the quick vox pops that I saw on Twitter or TikTok or one of those where they were doing word association game with Conor Ben, and they were saying to him, Devin Haney, and he's like pussy, like Ryan Garcia, big pussy. Shakur Stevenson, he's like Shakur Twitterson. Jerome Booth Ennis, he's like hell of a fighter. So I think we know what direction Conor Ben is going to be going. I think it's going to be, as Mickey said to Rocky, hand picked. And hopefully we get some kind of a Rocky story. I'm going to go final predictions on this one. Days, which way do you see this one going?
Uh, God, they're not going to do it a third time, are they? They wouldn't do that to us, would they? If they do it,
I
if they've
hope
got it
not, man.
written
It's
in
been
to a
hard
third
enough trying to
time,
cover it fucking twice, let,
yeah,
let alone a third
yeah.
time. Like.
So if the fix ain't in, if there's no swindle, I think the Eubank wins.
Eubank for and Justin, you were gonna go Ben KO.
Yeah, Ben knockout for me. But I like to think though that they're giving their dad some of this damn money since they made it for him. I hope they're giving him a
Oh,
piece.
I bet you they're getting a drink out of it, both
They
of them.
got
Well,
they got to be getting something.
Eubank Senior is going to be getting something out of it anyway. He's probably getting appearance money and everything, isn't he? That was the rumor the last time, wasn't it? That he was always going to show he was just negotiating more appearance money for himself, like before he turned up there at ringside. Maddie, what's the betting on this? Are you doing a bet next week on next weekend's action? And if so, what are you going with? What's your
For
parlay?
some reason, I think I have. I think I might have put Eubank just to win in a parlay, but maybe not. It's kind of a long shotter. But I know that that Eubank is a bit of a favorite. I think Ben is paying like 3-2. I'll confirm that here in just a second. But I'm again, if he makes the weight, fine. I'm absolutely going with Eubank to win this contest. But if he doesn't, then it's Ben. I think you're going to have to take a look at the weigh-in to really feel comfortable about it. But yeah, Ben's pay is paying all what that's 4-3 would be what he's at about 4-3 is what Ben's at. Eubank is minus 175. I don't know. You have to bet 1750 to win 10. And I tell you, it's all about the weight though. I feel all right about Eubank as the victor in this fight. But if he looks like trash on the scales, I reserve the right to say, yeah, there you go. But my lean right now definitely is going to be Eubank, possibly by stoppage this time. Better,
You don't
better,
see any
better
value
corner.
you don't see any value in the Ben knockout, Matty. You're normally a hopeless romantic when it comes to this kind of thing and a dreamer, and
I
and you see the value in this. You see what about a Ben early stoppage? Is that a possibility?
I saw the better value on the Ben stoppage when I knew he was on fucking drugs. Um, so right now, let's see here. Ben, that's interesting. So Ben by decision is paying about 9-2, and he's just shy really of 3-1 for the KO. So that's interesting. That's interesting. To the fight, let's see here. The fight to not go the distance. They're leaning just slightly in the fight not going the distance, minus 110 versus minus 125. I mean, that's way up in the air. The draw 16-1. And so the over under is going to be at 10.5. You can get a little bit better than even money taking the under. But yeah, that's what that's looking at. I think there's if I was to go back and replay this bet, thinking about how the weight plays, and then if he makes it well, I think the size plays. I probably would have just taken the fight not to go the distance in my bet.
Good share. Good share. Okay, perfect. So we're kind of, I don't know, we're split on this one. I personally, I'm not sure what way it goes. I really don't know until I see what Eubank looks like. I'm on this. I have a sneaky feeling that that Ben's going to come up with the win next week, even though everything points to a Eubank win in my mind. Like you said, a better trainer in Bo Mac. He probably does the weight a little bit better this time out. 8 pounds doesn't seem like a lot, but that's easy for me to say. But something is telling me that Conor Ben's going to overcome the odds, maybe on a cooked decision, or some kind of controversy with a stoppage. I think it's going to be more
Is
action
Howard
packed this time.
Foster the referee? I feel like I need to know this as
Let's
well.
let's hope so. Let's hope so. Let's hope so. Perfect. Okay.
And there's
So
also a couple other fights next week. I think you might have. I don't know if you're going to go into those, Rob.
I was going to
Oh,
go. Go ahead.
right
Go
on.
ahead. No, go ahead.
Yeah,
No, no. Tell me what you're thinking about.
yeah. So I think that honestly, the better card, and interestingly, that it's going to be free, is that you got the Rafael Espinosa's defending his title against Arnold Kagai from Mexico, and that's going to be the same as the Mayer fight was, where you could have caught that on the Top Ranks Classics channel on Tubi. And a couple of other options as well on streaming services. Again, free shit. And on that card too is Landolfo Delgado against Gabriel Valenzuela. I think that one could be a good fight. Your boy with the mustache, Richard Torres Jr. is on there against Tomas Selek. And Emiliano Vargas, I think, is obviously the best of the Vargas brothers coming up at this point in time. He's going against Jonathan Montrell. Don't know anything about him off the top of my head, not ringing a bell, but I'm just Emiliano Vargas, I think, is must-watch television. And honestly, I think this could, I mean, as far as action goes, this could very well dwarf the Eubank Ben card, in my opinion.
So you're calling Ben a dwarf as well. Good stuff. Okay, so any of the listeners or the panel want to chime in on that? Feel free, but if not, Wellington has weighed in, ladies and gentlemen. He's back. He's back. The return of the Mac. Welcome back, Steve Wellington. Good to have you on, dude. How is everything with you?
Not too bad, Rob. Can you hear me okay?
I can hear you fine, dude. I can hear you fine. That how things have changed. That's normally what I used to hit you with, isn't it?
Yeah, I just rolled in at 9:30, roles reversed. I'm outside. There's a UFO.
Unfortunately, I don't have any Anthony Crawler fucking graphics lined up to accompany that like you would have done back in the day. But brilliant to have you back on, dude. Anybody who has been paying attention to the Asylum channel, you will have noticed that Steve has been back with us doing Wellington Weighs In, which I thoroughly enjoy. Am I pronouncing that right? Is it Weigh In with Wellington or Wellington Weighs In? It's one or the other, isn't it? It's not that it doesn't fucking
Wellington
matter.
weighs in, although the second instalment was Wellington and friends. And Matty, as you incorrectly stated, I had 3 friends on that night. Eamon,
That's fantastic.
Harrison, who was calling in from Neptune, Eamon, who was calling in from Philippines, and Professor Power, a furtive new listener who joined by the stream yard link and then just disappeared randomly. So Wellington and 3 friends, an unholy trinity.
Fantastic.
It's grand opening, grand
Steve,
grand closing for Professor Power.
Yes.
Steve, was Harrison? Is he the fellow off the Nuthouse chat?
Yeah, he is. He's
Okay,
that was his
brilliant,
debut.
brilliant.
Yeah. It's good. It's
Fantastic.
good to see the boys coming through. There's a youth coming through the ranks.
Well, I was going to say he's always welcome on here as well. You know, he spoke really well with you, so he's always welcome on here as well, mate.
Fantastic, good stuff. Sorry, Rob, I didn't want to affect your flow. I mean, I can talk about
you're
stuff
fine.
if you want to from the weekend.
You're fine. I do actually want you to weigh in while I have you here on the stuff from the weekend. So give us a quick one on Vergil Ortiz. Obviously, we saw what happened in the fight, but how do you see Ortiz versus Boots Ennis? Even though it's probably a long way away, still, who would you favor in that if it was to happen next?
Well, hopefully, yes, it does happen next. And to be honest, I actually think it's a genuine 50-50, although I am going to side with one of the guys. Regular listeners will know I've been a fan of Jerron Ennis for quite a while, ever since he was having those promotional issues. Andy Patterson as well. We were big fans of him. I liked Ortiz as well. But I just thought that Ennis was never a natural talker. He was never somebody, even though he tried to be charismatic, and I think he was a bit awkward last night as well with the face-off, trying to get the hood off and all that. But he's got like Eddie with him now, who's like a natural hype man, who's hyping him up. And I think they're the perfect match. But as for the matchup itself, I mean, it's exactly the kind of demographics that we want to see in boxing. I know that this is kind of frowned upon these days, but it's the shit that we live for, Hispanic versus black fighter, the classic old mixture going on there. And I think it's going to be a fantastic fight as and when they get it on. And I just hope they can, because Oscar seems to always be distancing himself from the fight for some reason. I know he's probably permanently mangled, but there's always caveats and provisos with Oscar. They ask him and he's like, yeah, we're definitely going to make this fight next. If Ortiz wants it, there's always like a little caveat to it. So hopefully Ortiz, he seems like the kind of guy who will bite down on the gum shield and ask for this fight. And I think he will force it. So I think it will happen next year at some point, maybe March, April, something like that. And even though I'm a massive fan of Ennis, at the moment, I'm kind of leaning just a little bit to Ortiz. Not because of what have you done for me lately, because they both had early knockouts. The Lubin knockout was impressive, although Lubin, I mean, he's just washed at this point. He was never the most strong around the chin, but he's completely fragile. That was a good win, but I feel like we know a little bit more about Ortiz than we know about Ennis. And I'm not saying that Ennis can't fill the gaps and do the things that we've seen Ortiz done, but I don't think we've seen it yet. We've seen Ortiz go 24 rounds with Boachuk and Madjumov, and he showed a lot in those two fights, especially the Boachuk fight. He's toughed those fights out. And I haven't seen that from Boots. I'm not saying he hasn't got it in him, but I haven't seen that from him. That said, the guy who gave Boots a lot of trouble, well, especially in the second fight, not really in the first fight, was that Karen, who kind of stood off, awkward jab, awkward movements. Boots maybe wasn't motivated, whereas Ortiz is going to be in his grill coming straight at him. But I just feel, out of the two, if I was to back the guy I know a little bit more about, I know he can go into the well, I know he can go into the trenches and fight a hard fight for 12 rounds. I think I know a little bit more about Ortiz, Rob, so I'd maybe slightly favour him at this stage.
I'm with you on that, and the only reason I think it's a 50-50 fight too. And again, I'm dying to see this fight high on both of these guys, but was crying out to see Ennis in with a live body just to see what he's like. But I think the fact that he hasn't faced the highest level of opposition, there are moments where you see low level guys tagging him. Then it mightn't be punchers, there mightn't be kind of world class guys, but if Ortiz hits him, we'll have to see what he's made of, like, because he is easy enough to hit, flashy style or not. I think his jaws there for he hangs it out a little bit, and I think with Robert Garcia and with Vergil Ortiz, you'd have to think that they'd see something in him that they could expose that. But then again, he is athletically gifted when he's in there as well, isn't he? Like, he's a handful. So it is going to be, I think it's going to be a 50-50 fight, but I would edge perhaps with Ortiz at this stage. We'll look at it when it gets closer to the time. Steve, stay with me before we go any further. Quick one on the Ben Eubank rematch. You don't have to spend all night on it. It is what it is. We know why it's happening. It's the cash grab of all cash grabs, pad 2. What's interesting about this contest for you, if anything?
Not a lot, really, to be honest with you. I mean, we all know it's kind of double down on what it was the first time round. They're going off the back of their dad's names. I don't blame them for that. They're a couple of limited guys. They've always been kind of on the periphery of world level. Eubank more so. It's always felt like he's on the verge of that big fight. I've said this many times before, but he's made his money from fighting kind of faded guys like your Abrahams, your De Gales. He's never really stepped up. And Ben is like the perfect dance partner. As soon as they can push them together weight-wise in any way possible, you knew that they were going to make it. And they're cashing out, and I don't blame them. And having the rematch, it just makes perfect sense for the two of them. That said, I mean, it's a shit show. It says unfinished business, but it's just because they can cash in again for that second time. The first one seemed pretty conclusive to me. I'm not a fan of the weight thing whatsoever, the hydration and all that. I don't think it's good. Although Eubank is always kind of playing one, isn't he, with the kind of promotional and propaganda as well. But balling himself down to that weight is not a good thing, really. And they say Ben's got a puncher's chance, but I just wonder how much of a puncher Ben actually is at this weight. And the first fight was pretty sloppy from a boxing purist, sort of hardcore wanker's perspective. A lot of the shots were going behind the heads, round the sides. They were missing. It was thrilling. It was exciting for the casuals. They'd be sitting there lapping all that up because the two guys were winging leather. But from a technical point of view, it wasn't really great. So I can see why they're doing it. I don't have to have a big interest in it. And as for a prediction, I just think it'll be the same again. It might be a bit closer on the cards. I think Eubank will probably eke it out. It might even go to like a majority decision or a draw to try and get that third fight out of it or something. I just don't see enough from Ben to sort of change things around. And if Eubank can make the weight safely, which I believe that he probably can, I don't see Ben stopping. Eubank he seems like a resilient, durable guy. And unless his body really falls to pieces, I just don't see how Ben's going to be able to stop him. So I think it'd be very similar to the first fight. The cards might be a little bit closer. I can't remember what the cards are. You guys can maybe say, oh, the cards were closer in the first one. I can't actually remember, but
I can't remember.
I can
think
see
they were
why
pretty
do it.
wide, weren't they? I
Well,
thought
yeah,
like a
right, okay.
117-ish kind of area, maybe.
117, 111. Yes, I had that in my head as well, to be honest. I think it'd be very similar to the first one. I think it'd be fast, frenetic. There'll be blood, there'll be headbutts. The second half of the fight will be sloppy. Very similar to the first one. People will lap it up. They might do enough to get a third fight out of
Oh,
it,
for
and they
fuck's
can
sake.
go on the tangential little circle away from boxing and have their fights together. And it's just an indictment of the way boxing is at the moment, that this is one of the most talked about fights. I suppose it would have been at any time with their surnames, but that's just where boxing is at the moment.
I'm with you on it up to the point that I don't think Ben particularly punches that hard, but I just think that making this weight is going to diminish Eubank's ability to take the shot, and he could potentially get dropped along the way. I want to stay with you on a couple of fights just before we go into our Belly of the Month, because we probably won't have you back on by the time these fights happen. Well, hopefully we will. You never know. But what was I going to say? So we have the announcement that Shakur Stevenson is going to fight Teofimo Lopez. I know that you've been particularly high on both these guys over the years. These two kind of were in the mix of the great kind of four lightweights, and then they've kind of shook up and ended up 140, 147-ish. But, you know, it was this kind of quadruple of Haney, Lopez, Tank Davis, Stevenson. You can go even throw Lomachenko in there as well. But now Stevenson has been looking for an opponent. He's been stinking out boxing for the last 2 years, as good as he is. He hasn't been able to engage fans. He hasn't been able to put asses on seats, even in his hometown. He was booed out of the arena. And then we've seen Teofimo struggle in fights where he should have done really well, and then exceed and upset when he's been up against it. He's and Raven Lunatic, so is Shakur Stevenson. The two of them are going to talk a good game. Who do you see ultimately winning this fight? And I'll come back to you on Haney Norman, but I was interested to see who you think would be the natural winner in a Teofimo Lopez Shakur Stevenson clash.
I think Shakur Stevenson wins it. I just think that he has the ability, and other fighters have done this as well with Lopez, to sort of draw them into their fight. Lopez, if you kind of put aside the Cambosos loss and the circumstances around that, you could say that he's effectively, obviously he's not undefeated, but like he would write that off his mind as being undefeated. And ever since then, he's kind of showed flashes where he's not been so good, but he showed good flashes as well against guys like Josh Taylor, Arnold Barboza. Decent, regimental, sort of stiff guys. He has those athletic qualities to defeat those guys. Against someone like Shakur, he's going to be coming up against his athletic equal. And I think that he doesn't fight very well coming forward. And Shakur Stevenson's going to have his back against those ropes and drawing him on constantly. And Stevenson, he impressed me a lot against Zepeda. And I've been waiting for him to step up and really get these step-up fights. I was hoping he was going to fight Gervonta Davis. Regular listeners will know I thought Davis was the business.
Should have just put a dress on.
Yeah, well, yeah, exactly. That's a very good point. One of Oscar's wigs, I suppose. He could have jumped into the ring, but yeah, Davis. I mean, he's just turned out to be an absolute wrong, and he just cannot control himself for whatever reason, and he's just completely let everybody down. And it's really disappointing the way his career is going to drift away. His behaviour is just disgraceful, and he's happy to have these exhibition fights, and he's completely wasted his talent for me. I honestly thought Gervonta was going to be the best of the bunch. I thought he'd beat Shakur, and now I don't even know if he's going to fight again. But as for the question you asked me, I think Shakur will he'll be smart enough to draw Lopez onto him and sort of get into his head a little bit. And I don't think Lopez does that very well. And as I said, he only lost to Cambosos, but he's had struggles before, hasn't he, against guys like Jermaine Ortiz, Sandor Martin. He hasn't been able to solve those puzzles. And you're looking at Shakur Stevenson is like the black Sandor Martin. He's going to be able to...
You're saying Shakur has the black print to beat Teofimo Lopez.
If Lopez has to initiate the action, he finds himself befuddled.
Yeah, there you go. Shakur, man, he's really impressed me. The times he's been required to step up, Shakur, a bit like Floyd was in a way back in the day. Long-time listeners, viewers of boxing, I remember whenever Floyd when he had that run when he fought Victoriano Sosa and all those guys, and his hands were bad. He fought Carlos Hernandez. People were shitting on him. HBO, Larry Merchant were saying that he was afraid to fight people. He was afraid to fight, and he come out against Philippe Ndu. A lot of people were picking Ndu, who'd looked impressive to that point. And Floyd really laid a marker that night, and he battered Ndu, and it was like a Gatti-esque performance, the way he picked his punches against Gatti. He did that against Ndu as well. And there is a point to this little meandering. I think Shakur has stepped up last time against Cepeda. He kind of liked the back against the wall. Same he fought that Japanese kid. There was a lot of criticism before him as well then, that he didn't like to engage and all this, and he really bit down on the gum shield and got the win. I think that's what happened against Lopez. You'll say, look, people think we're on the same level here and we're contemporaries. I'm a level above him, and I think he'll show. They'll be competitive. They've got the distance, but I think Shakur will win.
Well, one thing is for certain when this fight is made, the trash talk in the build-up is going to be absolutely unbearable from both of them, because it's incoherent and fucking dull and boring at the best of times. And when the two of them get together, they're as annoying as fuck. I can't wait to see what this is going to look like.
The only thing that fucking Teofimo Lopez is able to explain clearly, it's like all like racist. Like that's the only thing that comes out clearly and obviously is like, man, he's really calling people the N-word. Well,
yeah, he's a Latino New Yorker who sometimes feel entitled to drop F-bombs whenever they feel like it, but that's a whole other show. Steve Wellington, are you a Haneyak? Are you high on Devin Haney and his fight in 2 weeks' time with Brian Norman Jr.? We've been having a chat on the pod about Norman Jr. calling out some of Haney's antics, imitation, the diet Floyd, patter, etc., the outfits, all stuff that we've cracked on him about over the years on the pod. I looked at him; he's in incredible shape. Rest in peace, Victor Conte. Devin Haney is in incredible shape at 147, with sinews busting out of his arms. A lot of the talk online is this fight has actually captivated US boxing Twitter, and people are really invested in it. They've had their face off. Norman Jr. seems to have the better of him in the terms of the mind games, and he can punch with both hands. Haney is intimating, him and Bill are intimating that they're going to come forward in this fight. How do you see this one played out?
I think actually this fight has sort of captivated me a little bit, and the whole card does as well. And I'm actually looking forward to the card on November the 22nd, and this is definitely one of the fights that's going to stick out for me. I'm not a fan of Devin Haney. I've just never really. I've always disliked him, to be honest. I can't really put my finger on it why. Maybe it was the kind of diet Floyd thing. And I thought Brian Norman,
a prick, and he's a prick. I
don't like the
kind
dad.
of an asshat. He's just kind of an asshat, you know.
I'm not that fussed on Haney, and I think on the way up, he was definitely a skilled fighter. He has a lot of good wins, but I just think that he is a guy who is afraid to get hit. And no, I don't mean he's like he's a pussy kind of thing. And all guys, nobody wants to get hit flush, but I really think he had an adverse reaction to that Garcia fight, which obviously you would when you're constantly getting hit by flush left hands. And that fight against Ramirez, when he sort of just went through the motions.
When Loma caught him too, he didn't react great. And he lost the fucking fight too. Yeah.
And I thought he lost that. And the Jorge Linares and all. But obviously, you're going to get hit. You're going to get hurt. And he showed a lot of resilience and courage. And I'll give him credit for getting through those moments. But I just don't think he likes to get hit. And someone like Norman, I think it's going to be an ugly fight. I think he's going to run Haney. I think he's going to grab. He's going to hold. If he can get past those first 4 or 5 rounds without being majorly hit, I think he has a chance. I know it sounds stupid because Devin Haney, but I think he has a chance of shutting Norman down. I think he could frustrate him because, again, what have he done for me lately with Brian Norman? I actually remember Brian Norman's dad fighting. He was like he was a journeyman at the time. Norman is a big puncher, but he's kind of come into his own recently. If you remember his fights against the likes of Quinton Randell, the Boca Chica fight went to a no contest. He was a kind of
the Randall fight was god fucking awful.
It was terrible, wasn't it? He got the top rank deal. He didn't impress. The Boca Chica, they got cut after, and it went to a no contest. He got inside, and he wasn't able to let his hands go. And I really wasn't that impressed with him. And it was against Santillan. He really impressed me that night. 32-0 guy. Santillan was on the way up. He'd just beaten Alexis Rocha. And Norman did a number on him. He looked really improved that night. And then Derek Cuevas was absolutely made for him. And then that Sasaki, he was an absolute mentalist, wasn't he? He just kept on coming forward in straight lines, taking punches flush until he took that left hand at the end. And I wonder whether these last 3 guys have just been made to order for Norman because they were all sort of straight in front of you fellas. Haney's not going to be like that. So where is the new Norman, who's used to guys standing in front of him, going to be there? Or is the old Norman who struggled to close the distance against the likes of Quinton Randall? Is he going to come back again? if Norman can close the distance and let his hands go, he can punch. He's young, he's exciting. I like his patter, and I'd love to see him win. And if he catches Haney clean, then the demons could come back into Haney's head. But I just wonder whether, if it doesn't happen, Haney's going to be able to just fiddle him about non-stop. So I am definitely intrigued by this fight. I'd probably have to lean towards Haney just because of he has the better sort of resume at a better level, even though we've outlined his thoughts, his flaws. But
and he kind of has better fundamentals as well, doesn't he? You can see him keeping him
on the jab's lovely. Especially Norman, like I said, his feet before and coming inside and falling inside. Haney's going to be there with the jab, the body shots. If he can get into a rhythm, Haney will be difficult to beat. But I do wonder about his mentality with being hit. And if Norman can hit him, I think it will be interesting.
I think we'd all love to see that.
I would, yeah.
With all that said, then because we do have to cover that again next week. So thanks a million for your insights on that one. So at this point, I would like to hand over the reins to Wellington, who's here to give us our Bellew of the quarter. Is this? We BOTQ. We're BOTQing it tonight here with the welcome return of Bellew of the week in the format of Bellew of the quarter. Steve, take it away, dude.
Thank you. LGBOTQ is this going on here?
Let's hope so.
Are we officially among the letter people or the alphabet people?
Why not? We'll add a few letters onto the end, Matty. Why not? I think you're allowed to do it.
I think it's the interim BOTQ, isn't it? It's not the full-fledged one.
Yeah, the regular. Well, it's not very regular. The irregular Bellew.
The irregular BOTQ. Brilliant.
Yeah, thanks very much, Rob. Episode 639, Bellew of the Week. We'll call it the Bellew of the Week just for continuity purposes. Thanks, Steve, here on the call with Des, Rob Kelly, Justin, and Matty. We've got quite a few lined up, as you can imagine. Damo's been firing them in. I think Ryan Deal might have thrown a few in as well. But first of all, we don't usually do ads on the show, but I thought it'd be remiss of us not to advertise one of the great fights that are coming up that we were just talking about now. Conor himself. Let's throw in a little DAZN ad first of all.
What are you watching there, mate?
Eubank Ben.
Is it any good?
It's only big because of the dads.
Oh, you reckon, yeah?
Yeah, should be me up there. My dad's harder than both their dads.
What, is he a boxer or something?
Orange belt karate. They do my head in these two. Eubank shoving the LV in your face and Ben going on, oh, when do you unconscious? Oh, when do you unconscious?
Yeah, what are you saying now, mate?
I'll get a photo. Cheers, mate. Big fan. Yeah, 15th of November, Eubank Ben live on DAZN. I'll be watching. Cocky little.
What did you say?
That's a quality little geezer. You quality little geezer.
For God's sake, come on.
Fucking hell. Who directed that? Big John Fisher?
I say it's not worth the pay-per-view money as well. Ben, he just gets more and more likeable every week, Justin, doesn't he, old Conor Ben?
Yes, good God. I mean, that's what what that guy said is what we all think, though. So, I mean.
Do you think he was watching it on the official DAZN app on his phone there? I don't know. Oh, hang on a minute. Let me just rearrange my camera a second here. Make sure everything's okay.
How happy are you? Yeah? Stand there. Okay.
I like looking up to this one. It feels unnatural to like take you away. There you go. Perfect.
That sounds.
Oh, fuck.
How does he look like? How does he look like a gayer, stoned version of JD Vance?
I just wondered where I'd seen that fucking JD Vance before when I started seeing the elections. Just like I've seen this come before somewhere. Is he got a keen interest in boxing?
Bit of Sam Jones there
in the background there.
No, not for you.
Not for me, mate. Not for me.
Not for Des. No.
He looks like he's going to see The Cure live and in concert.
Oh dear. Right. Anyway, John Fisher was mentioned, and we love a bit of John Fisher on this show, so let's throw it in there. John Fisher's been doing the rounds, including appearing on Newsnight. People that are working here shouldn't be targeted like that, says John. Nobody should be targeted like that. Social media content creator and proud Englishman John Fisher, aka Big John, was talking about the flag debate, and apparently this went a bit mainstream. And Big John has found received the ire of so-called English patriots. Big John eats a fat L was one of the videos that appeared. The one beef he couldn't handle. by whoever this guy is. A famous fat man, Big John the Boss Father, has been astroturfed by the BBC there. Says this character, and the comments were unforgiving, as you can imagine. One guy says, I would die for this country, quote unquote. You're going to die of heart disease, says Mr. Canadian there. That's not very nice, is it, to be honest, on poor John there. And Brian Murphy says the only thing he's fighting for is breath. So John has gone mainstream now into the world of English patriots. So
instead of Bosch, he's getting kiboshed.
He's getting kiboshed, exactly. Well, you know what? He could have washed away his sorrows there, boys, because on the 2nd of October in Malta, he was the celebrity co-host of the belly flop competition.
Christ almighty.
Get ready for a splash like no other.
What is he, a retired former champion or something?
Big John, food influencer. Apparently he's a food influencer, is John. Bosch there is the accompanying motto from John. What else have we got there? Let's have a look at the video. It's got sent in.
You know what Big John
videos.
should do, right? You know what Big John should do? He should get on that show that Ozzie Smith likes. You know, what is it? The one with the doctor in it.
Oh, a £600 life.
Right, £600 life. Just fucking name his price, man. Name his price. Save yourself. He could still keep the fucking brand going and the social media because, like, you know, he's obviously earning a few quid, so it's not paying him to lose the weight. Name your price, dude, because I would be fucking tuning into that every week. Where Big John coming up with his excuse, he's like, "Oh, it's just me. You know, I've had all the health checks and all. And the doctor say I'm fine. You're not fucking fine."
He's one of the only people that would watch the movie Thinner and a tear would roll down his face, wishing he could meet a gypsy who would curse him.
Poor John. He's getting it rough on here. He's getting it rough. But one man who can say to John, "Hold my beef burger." He's right in the same kind of realms as Dan Raphael. He wasn't happy about the Joseph Parker, Fabio Wardley stoppage now, boys. He says Parker was up 98, 92, 96, 94, 95, 95 at the time of the shitty stoppage by the usually terrible Howard Foster, who was fucked up fights for decades. Hashtag boxing. Dan Raphael, Matty, is not happy.
He speaks the truth. Yeah, he's feeling the anger that his chair feels each and every day.
The broken chair, exactly. Dan Raphael doesn't like Howard Foster. Stop this. It's going to be controversial. Got one for you here, Des, which you might be interested in. Eddie Hearn has set out his plans for Ben Whittaker. So he's going to headline against Gavazi in Birmingham. Then he's going to make his US debut, headline a show back in the UK in a tough fight. And then, I don't know what that tough fight's going to be like, because after that, he's going to fight against the likes of Arthur, Buatsi or Hutchinson. Thoughts, it says. So I don't know what you're thinking about that, Des, but it's the pathway to Willie Hutchinson. The long-trodden pathway.
I know. How inspiring. What inspiring stuff, eh? The best promoter in the world. I get it.
What's the crack there with Whittaker, do you think, Des? I mean, Eddie, whenever he signed him, he was talking about all these different things. He's saying, he's got the razzmatazz, he's got the style, he's got the gimmicks, he's got the fan base. He didn't mention anything about his in-ring sort of abilities.
See, I'm certain that there's talent there, and there's some sort of personality, but unfortunately, the way with boxing now, boxers seem to be so precious. When you get a kid like Ben, they want to marinate it and over marinate it, and you're sort of 5 or 6 years down the line, and he's still not fighting guys in his domestic weight class. It wouldn't have hurt Ben now to have jumped in with a Dan Aziz or a Spider Richards. These are not like your Bel Castros. These are not like your David Benavidez's, because we've seen Naz jump in with Bel Castro after 12, and we saw David Morale jump in with Benavidez after about 11. We're not asking him to do that. We're asking him to fight domestic kids that have been beaten, and the guys that beat them have been beaten, but they just won't do it. So we all know that what we see with Ben Whittaker is something, but we're not being privy to it. They're not giving it to us. So we're all getting bored of it. And what you end up is this sort of headline, if you give us another 18 months, he might fight Arthur or Buatsi or Hutchinson, all of which have been beaten at domestic level. Yeah, go figure.
Go figure indeed. Justin, are you a fan of DAZN? I hear there's a lot going on with the pay-per-views and the price increases at the moment. Is that your cup of tea? Are you on board?
I'm on board. I'm down.
DAZN subscriber?
Yes, day one.
Excellent stuff. Well, Eddie
he pays
was laying
for
things
everything
out.
he watches.
Yes.
Eddie was laying out on day one exactly what you're going to get with DAZN. Have a listen to this, boys.
I needed a platform that would give us a huge volume of dates. Then I needed a lot of money. I needed artillery, and now we've got it. $1 billion over 8 years, and we're going to be ultra competitive. We're going to be putting on the greatest shows with the greatest talent, and this is open season.
That's right. Just a reminder that DAZN brings you over 185 fights a year and an undisputed schedule featuring stars like Dave Allen.
Sign me up.
Kind of fucking going for the undersell over deliver there, huh?
Yeah, I'm pretty proud. The last thing I paid for was Tyson versus Lewis, and I ended up getting out of that. So actually, I haven't paid for it. I conned my best friend's dad into buying it, and I said, "I'll pay you back next week." I haven't paid him back. That was like 23 years ago.
So here's a couple of numbers that popped up just so folks know. It's estimated in 2021 that DAZN lost about $2.3 billion. In 2023, it says they had an operating loss of $1.38 billion. And in 2024, God love them, they finally got less than $1 billion in losses, and they only lost $936 million last year. The majority owner is Leonard Blavatnik, and he has injected more than $6 to $7 billion in it since its founding in 2016.
Wow. That is crazy, isn't it? Though
I'd love to be friends with him. Like if he's just throwing away billions like that, do you know what I mean? How am I not close to this guy? Can someone fucking in the chat? Someone in the chat make this happen? How can we get this fucking guy on board? Like $7 billion.
He'd at least pick you $100K to open a pub, right? I mean, good guy.
Something like.
I
think if he gave me $8 billion, I'd have produced better value on that
fucking. You wouldn't have given Tevin Farmer fucking 8 figures.
Steve, you like, so we all watch sporting over here in the UK, and any sports subscription, whether it's Sky from 32 years ago, it's always been underpinned by Premier League football, top division football. The European Cup is not sustainable, and the Championship or women's football or Italian football, it's just not enough. It all seems to hinge on Premier League football, and the little bit that BT had wasn't enough for BT to keep skin in the game, and they moved it over to TNT, whatever that become. And Prime dibble dabble, and like Netflix sort of like dip their toe into first class boxing every now and then. But it strikes me, Steve, I don't know what you think, unless you've got regular Premier League football like Sky had today, 4 games on a Sunday, 3 games on a Saturday, 1 on a Monday, 1 on a Friday, it doesn't seem to me, whether it's Satanta, DAZN, Box Nation, BT, it doesn't seem like sports stations in this country can survive. What do you think?
No, I agree with that. Especially niche sports like boxing, they kind of need something to piggyback off. We've mentioned it before, haven't we? About Eddie having the Sky Sports machine behind him, the Sky Sports News he was able to go onto. They were watching the football. You would see like TNT or Sky or whatever saying, "Oh, the boxing's coming up afterwards," and it's on at a reasonable time. BBC can have that sort of kick as well around Match of the Day when they're pushing the boxer stuff. But with DAZN, you've got to go over. You've got to go over to somewhere like behind another subscription to DAZN to get it on an app. I know they've put it on Amazon now or something, but it's not even that easily accessible through like Sky. You can't just get it on a channel. You have to go on an app, download the app, sign up for like 3 years or the rest of your life, then get it. Then you got to pay a pay-per-view. It's like layer upon layer. You have to get through to watch this boxing.
And it seems to me that all the other sports, cricket, boxing, tennis, F1, they're just byproducts. People in this country want Premier League football every weekend. It's their staple. On a Saturday, on a Sunday, we want to put our feet up, watch a bit of football on the telly. We want to cook our dinner, have football in the background. We get our family around and watch the football. And a bit of tennis is wonderful. Boxing, brilliant on a Friday night. We used to love it. But it's not enough for people to go and subscribe to sports channels on alone. It's almost like everything has to be underpinned, laid on the foundation of football. And if DAZN haven't got that, much like Satanta, I just wonder how they're ever going to succeed. And on them numbers, I'm with Rob. You think, how crackers are these people chucking good money after bad? It makes you think that old car you used to have that you used to chuck a few £100 into every now and then. It weren't such a bad deal, was it? When you look at the numbers these guys are throwing in.
It just seems that the owner is completely detached from reality, and that might have something to do with the fact that he has 8 billion disposable that he can just keep throwing. But like,
But where's
when
he
you're
getting?
trying to,
Where's he getting that money from, Rob? And how's he parting with it so easily?
And
I
how
don't
do you
know, I'd
get
love
to
to
the
find
point
out.
where how do you get to a point you can throw $6 billion at something, yet you've never taken enough economics to understand sunk cost fallacy? It's like the simplest fucking shit ever.
Well,
Like,
the
well, how
fact that
these fucking morons get rich?
their new subscription model is 3 times the price of Spotify, Netflix, fucking, you name it, Amazon Prime. Like, it's 3 times for just boxing. Like, are you fucking out of your mind? Like,
They're
give me a
asking
break.
they're asking almost $550 a year from U.S. customers for their 12-month subscription. And you think about that, and I mean, even with comparisons of currency and shit like that, like it's almost twice as much as you guys are being asked for. And so much of their content is oriented towards the British audience. I think that they're going to be very, very disappointed with the way that the U.S. market reacts to that, because if they've been relying
I'll
on
give them
us
another
to
year.
keep this afloat, they're fucked, I think.
I think they're going to get another year, and that's going to be curtains, isn't it? Like, I
Thank
think even if
Christ.
you're a billionaire, you're going to draw the line at like 9 billion. Like, that's the fucking that's the max you're going to put into it.
It's like the old saying, isn't it? The only way to get out of boxing as a millionaire is to come in as a billionaire.
Yeah. But like,
or to be crooked as fuck.
Do you know how many? Do you know how much of an astronomical, like how much of a difference there is between having like 10 and 20 million to having a billion? But to have like 8 of them to give away, I can't get my head around it. Fuck me, man.
It's beyond the realms of any sane thinker. When you think you could buy Man United for sort of like, I don't know, 5 billion, or you could buy West Ham United for 2 billion. These guys are giving 8 billion just to DAZN. Like, on the premise that boxing and pull that back and a bit of Serie A, or gymnastics, or a bit of Grand Slam tennis. But Steve, me and you have spoken about this for the last 10 years.
Mm-hmm.
We could smell it when Satanta was going to the wall. We could smell it when Box Nation was finally going to throw in. We knew when Sky was in their last days of Rome. We're getting that feeling with DAZN now, aren't we?
Yeah, exactly.
Like, how did Eddie manage to get in there at that? Obviously, Matchroom was very successful and he had some numbers to back it up, but he must have just had a bit of patter and a brass neck, which I have. Like, so can we get me in front of this fucking billionaire as well? Like, so can we pull a few quid out for the
All you
asylum?
need is a briefcase and a bit of Botox.
I'm willing to take that. I'm willing to take that chance.
One of his companies has a market cap of 15 billion, says Thomas Newman, who threw in that clip. So that's probably why. The aircraft carrier isn't so sure that boxing's a niche sport. I'd say at the moment, boxing is most definitely a niche sport. It's getting nicher by the week. Oh, I don't know. Anyway, one person who seems to be liking the pay-per-views and has an attitude towards us fans is Frank, actually.
Frank, a lot's been made of this fight being labelled a pay-per-view headliner, especially like people have mentioned like the quality of the undercard, etc. What is your response to people questioning whether this fight is pay-per-view or not?
Well, if you don't want to watch it, you won't buy it, will you?
And do you think that this is a fight that maybe DAZN should look to do on their normal pay-per-view subscription, or is this a fight to make for?
Question. It's a pay-per-view fight. If you don't want to buy it, don't buy it. Next question.
Yeah, baby.
He's always raging, isn't he? And that's where he's wrong too. If you don't want to watch it, don't buy it. Well, I wanted to watch it and I didn't buy it.
You know something?
That feels like me when I used to answer the fellas that say, "Why does Rob come in at half night every week and recap all the old shit?" Well, fucking fast forward, asshole.
that version of Frank Warren back in the 70s and 80s, every amateur boxing club in London had a head coach that was just like that. If you don't want to do it, don't do it. You know, it was as simple as that. He's so old school growler. He's the epitome of London growler.
You've heard that a few times, Des, over the years.
Yeah, over the years, yeah. If you don't want to do it, don't do it. Yeah.
Oh dear. Good stuff. Yeah, Frank. Never change, Frank. Never change. Michael Buffer has been caught out on the Old Faithful. Happy birthday, Michael Buffer. It's my parents' wedding anniversary today too. 25 years married. Buffer giving the old clap and the heart there. Oh, Rob, it never fails to catch them out, does it?
Oh, fucking! It reminded me of a good few old school jokes. I think I leave them. Like,
I was just about to say something as well, and I thought, nah, better not, man. It's going to be intro gate all over again.
It's going to boost the algorithm. Let's not fucking drag us back down to a fucking den of iniquity. Fuck's sake.
I better not. Right, back on track, Justin. Back on track. Oh, maybe not that one either. Damo, where are you, Damo? Oh dear me. Sorry,
That
buddy.
was in his beard transplant days, obviously.
That was.
Prime British Hair Clinic pattern on the asylum. Seems very appropriate.
British
to
Hair
bring it back.
Clinic and Jimmy Savile.
Jimmy Savile, yeah.
Jimmy Savile, classic Donny. Go ahead, Justin.
No, I said he shaved it off after 2 fucking days too.
He did. Wasn't too happy with that, was he? What else have we
It's
got?
almost
here,
like
then?
he's not happy with himself and constantly fighting an inner battle, isn't it?
Yeah, he's definitely not happy with himself. Are you talking about Jimmy or Connor?
Jimmy was delighted with himself, I think.
Oh, I'm sure he is. Eddie Hearn tweeting out, 10 days to go, virtually unrecognisable. And with 8,000 tickets sold, this really is a massive fight next week for Dave Allen. Ryan Cahill jumps in and says, virtually unrecognisable with the little weigh-in beer gut there. Dave Allen. Eddie, man.
In other news, Eddie Hearn has been diagnosed as legally blind.
Oh dear me. Good old Eddie. Let's have a look what we got on the videos here.
Nothing wrong with his eyesight, let me tell you.
No, absolutely not. Absolutely
Nothing
not.
wrong with recently separated Eddie Hearn's eyesight.
There's the limit for old Eddie. Let's have a look here. Oh yeah, Nico Ali Walsh was in action with the old Scott Cardle defence here, doing the shuffle, the old shuffle take a jab move. Defensive wizard. Oh man, it's class.
Uncanny that was, wasn't it, Steve?
Okay. Just like him.
Shades of Emmanuel Augustus following a seizure.
Yeah. Oh dear me. Aslino Freitas was back in action over in Brazil. I think he's 50 years of age now. He was having
such a fucking badass dude.
He was having an
Which is like
exhibition.
90 in Brazilian years, isn't it? 50. You're doing good to get the 50 over there. Like,
I don't think he's been living the life, but he was fighting a guy called Silver, I think it was. And yeah, things didn't quite go to plan for the boys there.
Non, rien de rien. Non, je ne regrette rien. Ni le bien qu'on m'a fait, ni le mal, tout ça m'est bien égal. Non, rien de rien. Non, je ne regrette rien.
Yeah, that was Vanderlei Silva. Yeah.
Wow.
Former UFC fighter. He might be washed. I think it might be a sign that it's time to quit when one of the fucking referee's assistants
To
plays
be
out.
fair, he got a couple other clean punches before that one. He was on shaky legs. If you didn't notice, Bob, it was like a 2 or 3 man effort here.
When one of the referee assistants lays you out.
I haven't seen a fucking beatdown in a 3-piece suit administered like that since fucking Frank Vincent told Joe Pesci to go home and get the shine box.
Good comment for Thomas Newman there, going back to Nico Ali Walsh, the stumble in the jungle. Oh dear. Good stuff. Let's have a look what else we've got on the agenda here. Oh yeah, here we are. Breaking news, everybody. Just what we wanted to hear. Peace in the Middle East. Peter Fury reacts to peace in the Middle East. What's Peter Fury thinking about all this? Well, there, you know.
Yeah. Only thing missing is fucking Ja Rule on the other line, like, isn't it? Let's try to make some sense of all this.
Oh dear. Peter Fury is going to break it down for you as best as he can. Further into matters of an international scene, Friday, November the 28th, Falcom Sporting Boxing's glove box, and Roy Jones Jr., you might know he was involved in this. JJ Metcalf, the son of Shane Neary, going over to challenge Rodriguez for the WBA Asia gold middleweight title. Not sure how these two boys are eligible for this over in Lahore, Pakistan, but they're going to be fighting for it anyway, and I'm sure you'll be able to find a stream somewhere to watch that one. Let's have a look what else we've got on the agenda here as well.
I love,
here's
I
one
love
for
the
you.
marketing behind such a fucking snappy name like Glovebox. Seems like it's going places. Glovebox.
Glovebox. Hey, that might be Chris Glover's promotional company, actually. Chris Hands of Stone Glover, Everton's finest, is currently on the rampage. I think he was in Mexico getting a knockout and winning a title. Let's watch him in action here, old Hands of Stone.
Pantalones amarillos, rayas negras, está el dominicano Luis Domingo Hernández, con los guantes rojos, con los pantalones blanco, verde y azul. Está el inglés Chris Glover, rápidamente va a la lona el dominicano, y ahí viene el conteo reglamentario. Bueno, ahí está Domingo Hernández, todo un veterano, escuchando el conteo del referí Oscar Peña. Le dice que si puede seguir, dice que sí, va a seguir la acción. Estamos en el primer asalto, ahí viene con todo el inglés, llaveando, está atacando ahí. Uy, a la lona otra vez Domingo Hernández, y no creo que esto vaya a durar mucho, parece que no tiene mucha señal Domingo Hernández. Está escuchando el conteo. Recuerden que conforme lo establece la regla, si va a la lona otra vez, pues automáticamente se acaba el combate y viene el ataque del inglés. Y a la lona, y esto se acabó. Esto se acabó, así que vencedor por knockout en el mismo primer asalto, el inglés Chris Glover. De esta manera se proclama campeón superpluma, 135 libras.
Yeah.
Smashing that body to pieces.
Hands of Stone.
Danger in the Dominican Republic.
Those lucky 100 people will be able to say, I was there.
Steve, it feels like a friend of the pod, Bomac, could have a couple of fighters on Glovebox. Might be a suitable one for him. We know what he has in the Glovebox, don't we?
Might well be. Good KO, says Michael Thompson. He's impressed by the body snatcher that is Chris Glover. I've seen Chris Glover in action in real life. He is quite the character. It's fair
I like the way
to
the
say.
commentator said, Rodriguez in a pantaloons. Oh,
why? He's taking it on the road. We've got sent this one in, actually. I think you're going to like this one, Rob. It was entitled to me when it was emailed. Bivol had a lucky escape. It was Ekaterina, a.k.a. Kate Bivol, is back on the scene again, of Hate Watch fame when she was watching along the stream on the Baturbia fight. And I tell you what, she, as we're going to see in this video clip now, she's quite the character.
Потому что я искусство вызываю в тебе чувства. Потому что я искусство.
You ain't going to mess with her, are you?
Nah, you're not.
Eddie Hearn must have had a lucky escape as well. You know what I mean? Canvas lucky stars. She's a scorned. Who's more scorned wife, Katerina or the brass father's fucking missus at home?
I haven't seen her videos yet, so I can't comment.
Are you offering to comfort her, Rob?
Well, she seems like my type.
Oh, dear me. Well, it wouldn't be the Bellew of the week if we hadn't got the main man himself appearing, although we don't actually see anything from him. But as Spurs were playing Everton were 3-0 down, and this Spurs YouTuber, no idea who he is, but he has a bit of a personal relationship going on with Tony Bellew. And this is a good one for my books anyway. He starts to ring Bellew to troll him. So let's check this one out.
Where's my phone, blood? My fucking phone, yeah? I'm sure you ain't phoning me now, blood. Sure you ain't phoning me now, blood. Yeah, let's see. Let's see where he's at now, blood. You wanna phone me, blood? Wanna phone me, blood? Man like Conlon, blood. You know them way there from Creed, fam. You know them way there, man smacked up David Hay twice, blood, but you don't want it with expressions oozing. You know them way there, fam. What's my, hey, is that my good friend? Hey, he hung up, blood. Hey, he hung up, blood. My good friend Anthony Bellew, blood. Hey, look, he hung up, blood. Like, hey.
Fuck me, God.
Trolling the bomber?
What the hell was he saying, though? I can't understand what the fucking word he said.
Don't ever go to the Caribbean.
Yeah, I guess.
Cut to £10 nice and easy, ringing the bomber.
You're going to struggle with Top Boy, Justin, let me tell you.
No fucking clue.
Oh dear. Hey, well, I'll tell you what, Justin. Talking of struggles, Amir Khan got himself into a bit of trouble a few years ago, and I got sent this one as well. Him trying to talk his way out of it. Good old Amir. Let's have it. Oh, I'll tell you what. You could put as not even just one Amir Khan video into this value of the week. I got sent quite a few, but let's have a listen to what he has to say here.
First of all, I want to apologize. You know what I mean, because I didn't mean to call Caitlin Bruce. That was an accident. You know, because the reason I called him Bruce was because, you know, I've been watching him from the Olympics when he won the gold medal. He was a he was a hero, and obviously I'm a fan. So obviously I remember him as Bruce. Me being an Olympian myself as well, being an Olympic champion myself. So when I met him, obviously it didn't cross my mind. You know, I went over, shook Caitlin's hand and said, "Hey, how's it going, Bruce?" by accident. I didn't mean anything about it. I mean, I don't want people to think that, you know, I'm transphobic. I don't like transgenders. You know, I got nothing against. I didn't do it by purpose, not at all. You know, I was there to enjoy the event. We were sat next to each other all night, and we were talking about Olympics and talking about how he was an athlete and how I was an athlete in the Olympics. No doubt. So yeah, man, we kept it cool, and obviously he didn't really mind when I called him. Caitlin didn't mind when I when I said Bruce. Obviously, look, I said I take that back. Yeah, there's a lot of respect there. So I just don't want people taking it out of context.
And then he says he, him, over and over again.
I don't want anyone to think. I don't want anyone to think I'm transphobic. I said he was a great lad. I don't know what everyone thinks. You know, he called him Bruce about another 15 times as well. As brilliant. You know, obviously Bruce is Caitlin now, but when I was talking to Bruce, I told him, "Look, pal, it takes balls to do what you did."
Oh, great bunch of lads, old Bruce there. I know it's got called off, but I thought this was a particularly good one that was floated around at the time. Jake Paul against Gervonta, obviously before his carry-ons. The wee man there ended up getting pulled out of the fight.
You wouldn't want to have Caitlyn Jenner bending down like that to Tank Davis. Would you? I think that happened.
Are you sure that that's a picture from a face-off, or if that isn't like from the a 1980s sitcom and somebody's getting adopted and moving to the suburbs?
Gervonta's going to live with Jake Paul and family. Oh dear. Yeah, I've got a couple more videos just before we close out this particular episode of Bellew of the Week. Now, everyone knows that
and Jake Paul is all the furniture's gone out of the gaff.
Oh dear. Yeah, everyone knows that I like a conclusive stoppage to a fight, and I've managed to find the Filipino Steve Smoger here. Now, he wants a conclusive stoppage too. He wants to make sure that everything has happened as it should, and there is no second guessing going on here from Mr. Filipino Steve Smoger.
Remaining second round scheduled for 8. Down he goes! Hindi na yata makakabago nitong si Geraldine Oclaret. He's being counted down, and he is now waved off by Vergil Garcia, and immediately
Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
He's not getting up, Jim.
I'm just saying.
Howard Foster there.
Can't you trade the Philippines for Howard Foster? Like, is that an unreasonable deal?
Fucking hell, man. The fella at ringside was giving him his last rites. He's fucking still counting.
Oh, dear me. To do who that guy is, but there you go. Got sent that one. And finally, we all love a classic HBO fight at Liev Schreiber and all the epic cinematic quality. Corrales Castillo is a particular one. And I tell you what, boys, whenever you watch this, Boxing Social's Regan Slaymaker was talking to Adam Azim, and the hairs will be standing up on the back of your neck, just reliving the moment as these two boys go over a classic fight. Have a listen to this.
For me, Adam, this is kind of for me, really. I thought of this question the other day. What's the one fighter that influenced you the most before you'd even turned amateur or pro? Which one fighter inspired you the most?
The one fight that inspired me the most was Corrales versus Castillo.
Oh, okay.
So that was a great fight. It shows that, Castillo got dropped numerous times in that fight. Got back up and then knocked is it Corrales?
Yeah, Castillo and Price.
Corrales knocked him out, right? Is it Corrales or Castillo got dropped?
Castillo got dropped and then he knocked out Corrales, right?
I think Corrales knocked him out.
Okay.
Yeah.
Who's the one who? Because he boxed Ricky Hatton after.
Yeah.
That's right. Yeah.
So, I think Castillo's kept dropping Corrales, and Corrales got back up, showed heart, then stopped.
Come on, XP.
Beautiful, beautiful books.
It's like an
Like
episode
me
of Drunk
hosting on the
History.
first night. Fucking the Slaymaker, he does a lot of tickets, that guy I hear.
He was thinking of that question the other night, Rob. What was the fight that most inspired you to get into boxing? I'll tell you what, fair play.
He got there in the end, this guy.
Ask me,
I don't know.
Ask me after we get back from McDonald's. I'm totally high right now.
I think they were talking about the rematch in the end, there, weren't they, Matty? Oh dear. Go on, the boys. He's doing a great job over there. Right.
He
Yes.
dreamt the nights like those.
Michael Thompson says just like listening to a prime punches from the past. Oh dear me. Shout out to Thomas Newman for throwing those in. Captain Casual Damo as well. I know that I haven't given you much notice, boys, but if you have anything that you sprung to mind, anything you want to throw in now before we recap them and finish the Bellew of the Week, then feel free to throw them in now.
Oh, I got one, Steve.
Oh.
So Misfits Boxing named a new CEO. Anyone have any guesses as to who it is?
Go on.
It's Andrew Tate, isn't it?
Andrew Tate, correct, Rob.
Andrew
Correct,
Tate,
Rob.
yeah.
You're the winner. So Andrew Tate is the new CEO of Misfits Boxing, and we all know about him and his hijinks, many of which were used in the intro we had to get rid of. But he will also be participating in Misfits Boxing, and he will be making his debut in Dubai on December 20th against current heavyweight champion Chase Demore. So got to give it up for Misfits Boxing. Maybe it's really not that funny. I guess they just know their audience.
And they obviously do their due diligence when they're appointing CEOs.
Clearly, this man is not a liability whatsoever. You want nothing but female secretaries in the office, and you're instituting a dress code. That sounds fine to me, Mr. Tate.
It'd be awful for Elle Brooke to work this hard to be taken seriously as a boxer. This fucking try to put her back on a cam in about two. Put her back doing cam shows.
Should have appointed Sharon Tate. There's one for you, Rob.
For legs.
Oh dear me. Good stuff, Matty. Any more for us?
No, that's it.
Oh. Any more for any more?
I know, just to go back to Storm and Norman giving it to Haney and the Haneyacks, like I just thought that was fucking brilliant. Don't ask me about no outfits. This is what's wrong with boxing. I'm talking about getting ready to fight, and you're showing me someone's fashion outfits. That is Haney, all Haney, and like looking like fucking dressing up like he dressed up as ASAP Rocky for Halloween or something. Like the state of him, like fucking hell. I know I'm out of touch and all, but Jesus Christ, this fella's wearing big fucking like Eskimo hats and all, like fucking the fuck.
Let's all. I actually do have another nomination as I think about it. Like, I think you just got to nominate Gervonta Davis because all he had to do was find his way to this Friday for this fucking goofy ass event, somewhat staged, I would assume, and he would
Make a pile of money.
And he would have had fuck you money, and he could have rode off into the sunset. But the motherfucker cannot keep his hands to himself, and now he is up fucking Schitt's Creek without a paddle, I do believe. So, like, you got to nominate Gervonta Davis. I mean, like, we've all blown opportunities worth, this many hundred or thousands of dollars or whatever the shit it might be. Like, oh, that was a bummer. This is tens of millions of dollars. He just had to keep his hands to him fucking self, and he would have just been able to ride off to the sunset. Rich as fuck.
You'd love to know. There's a famous scene. Well, it was not that famous. It's only in the made-for-TV movie about Mike Tyson's life, where he's played by a guy who looks absolutely nothing like Mike Tyson. And Don King comes over to the house, and he sees Robin Givens storming off, and he knows it's over, and he says, "What did you say to her, Mike?" And he says, "I called her a cunt." So you'd love to know what was the breaking point that ended up in that tirade of insults that was happening back and forward there in that domestic incident. What was the final tipping point that cost him fucking tens of millions? Like,
Oh dear. I'm Amir Khan. Sorry, Ayman Khan, rather. Getting mixed up there. Nearly called him Bruce. Ayman, friend of the pod, Ayman Khan has nominated Simon Jordan for suggesting that gloves were made with horse feather. Maybe horse feather dipped in cervical fluid. Possibly that was one.
got it off Pegasus there.
Oh dear me indeed. So that's what we got. Right, let's go back through them quickly then, and we shall get out of here. So we've got Gervonta Davis. We'll go backwards against Jake Paul. We've got Metcalf versus Rodriguez for the Asia title. I'm sure they're both eligible for that. Peter Fury reacts to peace in the Middle East. Everybody's watching that video. We've got a bit of Eddie Hearn telling lies in Shocker. Conor Benn and Jimmy. We've got Michael Buffer as well, getting scooped out there. Eddie again with the road to Willie Hutchinson. We also have Dan Raphael going in on Howard Foster. We've got the Bosch father himself with the Battle of the Beasts and the Battle of the Bellies over in Malta. And then we had Big John. He was a bit of a figure of ridicule as far as these boys are concerned. And then we had our videos. I'm not going to play them all. We'll just go through them quickly. So we had the ad for DAZN, bit of Sam Jones, Angry Frank going off about pay-per-view, Dave Allen, the pay-per-view star, Ali Shuffle eats a jab. We had Acelino Freitas fighting, Chris Hands of Stone Glover, bit of Dimitri Bivol's ex-wife, I should say. Anthony Bellew getting trolled by the guy on the phone. Amir Khan putting his foot in it. The Filipino Steve Smoger. And at the end, Corrales Castillo almost feel like it was happening in front of us as the boys relived it blow by blow perfectly. What have you got this week, Justin? Who are you going to go for out of this motley crew?
I'm going to go with punches from the past.
Punches from the past. Adam Azim and the Slaymaker. The Slaymaker was sitting a couple of seats down from me at the Crocker Donovan show, actually. So, yeah, fair play to him. He's working his way through the world. He's got a Bellew of the Week nomination as well to share with Adam Azim. If he wins, Rob Kelly, who are you going for?
It's got to be Amir, man. For fuck's sake. It sounds like, he sounds like a lad like when the missus starts videoing him, she's like, "Why were you liking fucking what's your name down the road fucking post on Instagram?" He's like, "Oh no, I just fucking know it from it's fucking just nothing. It was nothing. I didn't mean anything by it. It was just one of those, you know what I mean? Just giving flimsy excuses there."
I haven't seen his eyes look that big since the 10th round against Maidana.
Oh dear. Okay, one for Amir as well. Des, who are you going for this week?
I liked them all. There was loads there that I really enjoyed. But I'm going to go for the Gervonta Davis and Jake Paul picture, purely because of the comedy timing. I think Matty said it's a rerun or a remake of two brothers being adopted and moving out to the suburbs. And as quick as a flash, Rob went, and in the first episode, he sells all the furniture and trades in the Merc. I think that was comedy gold, and it was a brilliant effort. It says a lot about the lads. It really does, how quick they are.
Does indeed. Yep, Jake Paul and Gervonta getting the nomination. Matty, it could be down to you.
Yeah.
Go ahead. Who are you going for?
As much as I would like to give it to the mid-card fella from Manila, Nico Ali Walsh, I would. I think I got to go Amir Khan, man. Like that stuttering was just awful. Like that had to be similar to when he was explaining to his wife about whipping his dick out on Skype. It's the man is struggling, man. It's like
his mouth is stuttering quicker than his hands were at 140.
Man, if he used that same fucking hair dye as Rudy Giuliani, it would have been dripping down his face like he was at the fucking Four Seasons landscaping.
Imagine if he was in the StreamYard era, Matty, what he could get up to. Never mind Skype.
No kidding. God. He could he could show it as a presentation.
Yeah, a background overlay.
Yeah.
With Bean's face in the corner. Sorry.
And as you'll see, the firmness of my penis works in direct correlation with how wide you spread your legs. As you will see in slide 3A through C.
Oh no, there's the ads gone.
We tried. We hung in there.
I said penis is. That's off talk.
It's all right. I dropped a C-bomb there about 20 minutes ago. I think we're okay.
Yeah. The fuck?
See, you lot thought I was going to be the problem.
I'm going to alert the Protestants that you're giving your sympathies to the Catholic. This is bullshit.
Oh dear. Yeah, so it's going to be a draw this week then, because there's two family con, and I'm going to side with Justin. I enjoyed the punches from the past episode with Azim and the Slaymaker, so they are the joint Bellew of the Week winners for this week.
I thought you said you were all right, Spider. That's what. Why am I all right, Spider?
You went down. And then you got.
Thrilling stuff.
It sounded like two old Jews arguing in the park about what happened at the grocery store the other day.
It makes you want to go and sign up for Boxing Social. That's what I say. Shout out to them, whatever they're doing over there. I don't know what
They
it
should
is.
sign up for our Patreon instead, Steve.
They should indeed. They should absolutely do that.
At
because they are the joint
/boxing.
/boxing asylum. Yeah. Or / / /, top /
One of
bottom
the
/
two.
put in any kind of slash you want. You'll get there, I'd imagine.
Just don't slash me. That's not the way I want to go.
No, exactly. Well said.
Yeah.
It's not Halloween anymore. Congratulations, boys. Episode 639. You are the Bellew of the Week winners. Just before I hand back to Rapping Rob Kelly, I don't know if you boys covered the heist on Saturday evening. I thought that was a really fun card. It just popped into my head. Prize fighter sort of theme, GBM on DAZN. Some of the guys weren't the best, but there was knockdowns galore. There was cuts. There was shocks. The one fellow I thought was going to win in the final got knocked out after 29 seconds. Fair play to the lad who won it. There were some great stories, great characters. They'll probably never be able to recreate that again, but it really did work. So if you haven't watched it, or if you're on the Patreon or whatever, the heist GBM was well worth a watch. Thanks, Rob. Back to you, sir.
Here's the question: did Bruce Jenner slash the penis yet?
Oh, the ads are
/
gone.
Boxing Asylum.
/ the ads. Thanks a million for that, Steve. Absolutely brilliant to have you on there. Fucking rolling back the years. Still got it. So yeah, watch out for the listeners as well. Watch out for the Wellington Weighs In. We're loving that. They're actually it's the best spin-off since fucking Empty Nest and the Golden Girls. And on that note, I want to thank Maddie. I want to thank Justin. I want to thank Steve Wellington and Des for joining me tonight, and all the listeners in the chat. Actually, let's just give you guys a quick rundown there before we go. Thomas Newman, that guy, Captain Casual, Yimmy Yappy, Michael Thompson, the aircraft carrier, the other aircraft carrier, Eamon Khan, and whoever else joined us in the chat tonight. Thanks for all the super chats, tight bastards. Hopefully we're back for 6:40 if we can keep the lights on. But yeah, no, brilliant having you all. I enjoyed it, and see you back here soon next week.